Okay, I think I'm live. Welcome to the stream, I think. Good morning, Grace. Good morning, ATF Media. Booby honkers in the chat, absolutely. I don't know if there'll be a lot of that today, unfortunately. Let's see, let's do a quick news update. Ben and Grace visited Niagara Falls not too long ago. That was kind of an interesting video. Bethadone has reached her monetization threshold, so I think she's applied for monetization, which is exciting. We're going to be doing a Bethadone and I are going to be doing a true crime podcast probably like a month to a month and a half from now. We're going to do our first episode. The Jedi, what a weekend of content. I mean, Joy's just a machine. She did a washing the car stream. Tons of Jedi joy over the weekend. My God, it is news. It's not everyone wants the same news. ATF Media. I don't know what I want to do tomorrow. I might put a poll up and see if you guys want to do. We could do body cams. We could do wrestling. We could do talk shows. I don't know. I'll probably put something in the chat. But that's pretty much everybody that I watched. I did post the clip with Hurricane Paro. I don't know whatever happened on Lol Cow Rejects last night though, but I thought it was a fun little promo. Beth Mark podcast. Yeah, we're going to be doing a true crime podcast. It's probably going to go about like you would expect. But we've talked it out. We have most of the details worked out and whatnot. Oh, Grace was in Ruby's chat, and we had the first kind of Grace Bethadone moment, which they wanted OPC Don to come up on Ruby's stream, and people started calling for Bethadone, and Grace said, yeah, bring Bethadone up, but make sure she does an underwear check first. So that's kind of, it's always interesting when the worlds overlap a little bit like that. Anyway, let's get started. We are on season 2, episode 4. Are you ready for this? Listen to this lineup. Voodoo, Russian psychics, and black holes. Incredible. Look at that, ATF. 2 minutes. I got the news out in 2 minutes, man. You can't beat that.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. When you think of the word voodoo, what comes to mind? Zombies rising from the dead, magic potions, evil spells cast by sticking pins into voodoo dolls. Well, these may be the popular voodoo images learned from Pulp Fiction, but they aren't reality. While real...
With Vinny Slugga? Oh, actually, I do. Thank you for reminding me, Ananjay. Vinny Slugga broke up with his girlfriend. Well, they had to break up. So he's going through he and Cassie broke up, his girlfriend with Down syndrome. They broke up. So I did see that he posted a video coming back from McDonald's, but otherwise I think he was pretty quiet after the breakup.
Voodoo practiced in the United States is more benign than you may think. Black magic disguised as voodoo is more evil than you can imagine. In November 1991,
Dude.
the law catches up with reputed Florida drug lord Romeo Mathis. For the past 4 years, many people believe Mathis has controlled a $1 million drug empire with powers he acquired through black magic.
Are these police officers real?
In
They look
fact,
like
documents
Memphis
have been found
wrestlers.
showing Mathis targeted 58 people for spells intended to cause death. Among those allegedly cursed were a U.S. attorney, a federal judge, and a prosecutor. The black magic spells evoked by Mathis have been called voodoo. But real voodoo is not black magic. It is a complicated religion, almost completely misunderstood by the uninitiated.
That's crazy, man. It looks like a Memphis angle.
Voodoo to Americans means black black magic and zombies and pins and dolls. Voodoo to a scholar is the study or the observance of holy things. So the word voodoo actually means holy or sacred.
Hollywood is largely responsible for the misconceptions about voodoo. And tabloid journalists have taken one of the world's oldest religions and reduced it to a series
There
of
are some
sensational
really wild
headlines.
movies back in the day about voodoo.
Evolved from various African religions coming together during
I
slave
Walked
trading
with a
in the
Zombie
19th
is a good one.
century on the island of Haiti. After gaining independence from the French, Haitians brought their practice of voodoo out of the mountains and into the open.
Haitians are 90% Catholic, 10% Protestant, and 100% voodoo. I don't think that Haiti would have been the first black republic. I don't think the Haitians would have achieved their independence without the religion of voodoo.
How do I make a
Voodoo
poll?
gave them solidarity, which no other institution could have given them.
Today, voodoo thrives outside of Haiti, kept alive in peristyles or temples around the world. In Philadelphia, the peristyle Haitian sanctuary is just one of more than 1,000 voodoo sanctuaries in the United States.
I don't know how to do a poll on here.
Voodoo has become synonymous with the word evil and satanic. So it's something that everybody hates and know nothing about. It's amazing
George
the tremendous amount
Beware.
of ignorance people have about something and yet have such a definite, firm opinion about it. It is a perfect example of how, in this country, people have lost the capacity for analysis, reflection, and clear thinking.
Voodoo's sacred secrets are guarded by priests and priestesses like Angela Novanyan. Angela believes she was called to voodooism by a mysterious power.
I had a dream about this place, and I didn't know what
Mysterious
it was.
powder?
I went to the travel agent, and they showed me pictures. That's where I want to go. They said, that's Haiti. And I was very sick, and I lost my job. I didn't have
I ingested some mysterious powder, and now I'm a voodoo practitioner.
anything to lose. I went to Haiti, and I became a priestess there.
The voodoo service involves a complicated series of rituals and ceremonies. Drumming and singing are used to call spiritual forces, or loas, to visit the congregation. Believers claim
Oh,
to have
wow.
a direct line to the spirit world
Over like
when
the chickens?
loas temporarily possess the priests and talk through them.
Whoa, what's this?
Loa possession can be sudden and, for some believers, very traumatic. The writhing body movements and altered
Or
state of
goats,
consciousness
maybe?
are particularly disturbing the first time a practitioner is possessed.
When I came out of that possession, my mother had me pinned up against the refrigerator with my arms stretched out. And she
I
was
think I'm
crying,
possessed
Jesus,
too.
Jesus, 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 the blood of Jesus. And then my mother said, you possessed the devil.
Since possession is frequently associated with evil, it has been difficult for voodoo practitioners to convince outsiders that Loa possession
Hey,
is
Junk.
benign and, in fact, positive.
The constant metaphor used in a Vodun ceremony is that the Loa are like horsemen and the worshippers are like horses. And during a voodoo ceremony, the Loa will come down and ride the backs of the worshippers the way a horseman rides a horse.
It is believed that a Loa completely obliterates the personality of the priest or priestess being possessed. And sometimes that kind of total possession will affect a member of the congregation with frightening results.
Wow.
Anybody can become possessed, which is a danger, because not anyone can handle possession. There's a word in Haitian Creole.
God wouldn't give
the
them more
word
than
is
they could
bossal,
handle,
which
man.
means wild.
Right.
And if a person hasn't been properly initiated, if she or he is contacted by the energy of the Loa, is basically out of control.
The first time that I got hit lightly with the possession, I was quite
Roseanne
shocked.
O'Connor.
And I said, boy, this is a lot realer than I thought. It's so close. It's a very humbling experience. You realize realized that it's beyond us.
What in the
Anybody who's
world?
ever seen a voodoo ceremony and isn't prepared for the phenomena of spirit possession would be, I think, shocked, perhaps upset if that person was not used to seeing people worship with their body as well as with their mind.
The rituals practiced at the Peristyle Haitian Sanctuary in Philadelphia are voodoo as a religion, offering guidance, a strong sense of community spirit, and a path to spiritual enlightenment. How then did the myths about voodoo's dark side become so ingrained in popular
Reminds
culture?
me. Sorry, my
Some
sinuses
scholars
are. I'm out of
believe it happened
Flonase.
here in New Orleans.
It
early
reminds
in
me
this
of the
century.
snake
When
snake
voodoo
churches,
was
kind of.
popularized, some say commercialized, by priestess Marie Laveau.
One blue
Marie
candle I
Laveau.
brought as a special offering for the spirit of Marie Laveau, because blue was her favorite color, and she always wore a blue shawl. And that was the blue represented her great
Muslima
compassion and healing
Moonpaki.
quality of the mother.
Huh?
All of the power structure of New Orleans came to consult with her because as a voodoo priestess, of course, she was able to talk to the Loa.
Hurricane
She was
Paro's family.
recognized as sort of the unofficial mayor of the city.
The voodoo practiced by Marie Laveau
You think that's what happens when he gets going? He's possessed. He can't control it. He said in the interview that like he had to start abusing his power against King.
and generations of disciples
He didn't have any
after her
control
has
over
been
it.
preserved in the New Orleans Voodoo Museum.
Is that why he turns his camera
But
off?
what
Because
is
he's like
called voodoo here
gooning
is really
out
a
whatever
mix
that
of
guy
many
was doing?
traditions,
Ooh, snake
including
chick.
elements of black magic.
New Orleans voodoo is probably the most eclectic because people came here from all of the islands, so they brought their tradition with them. And I think this is what's wonderful about New Orleans voodoo because it
Skull
really
with a
allows
top
you
hat on it.
to be creative, to express yourself through spiritual means.
In small shops called botanicas throughout the French Quarter, potions are available that believers claim can cast spells on people. There are love potions, money potions, even a potion thought to cause a state of waking death. Some voodoo
That's legal? You can just
practitioners
sell a
claim
potion
zombies
of
are
waking
human
death?
beings who have been given this hallucinogenic potion. But despite Hollywood's continuing fascination with the dark side
great
of
movie.
voodoo, practitioners of true voodoo deny the very existence of zombies. The fight to establish the legitimacy of voodoo as a positive faith has been made difficult by their practice of animal sacrifice. Believers insist that what may look evil to outsiders is an important...
Are you talking about Lev Tolstoy? He's in the. I see him in this chat every once in a while, but I haven't seen him on panel or in another chat. But every once in a while, he pops up here.
part of their religion.
If that's who you're talking
For
about.
us, the animal sacrificing is asking the Loa to bless your offering so that you can have holy meat to eat. And it's only done at a ceremony, a real big ceremony, which is a time where priests and priestesses must feed the poor.
While some believers continue to concentrate on the positive forces of voodoo, there will always be those who exploit voodoo for their own purposes. And as long as the spells and
guy's
curses
pretty,
of people like Romeo
pretty
Mathis
baller.
are exploited in headlines and on television, the
Yeah, it's been a
religion
while.
of voodoo will remain feared and misunderstood.
Voodoo gave purpose to my life. I mean, you're talking about
If you really miss him, Junk, I think I have like 2 hours of him sitting in silence in the Grace Cord, Discord VC, just like in his smoke-filled room, just like sitting there. I don't even think anybody else was in there except for me and him.
a young African-American male coming up on the streets from the poor community. It not only physically cleaned me up, but spiritually provided and nourished me. It gave me things to learn, new things, fresh things, new ideas, new directions, things that
Nude
I never thought
erection?
of
Wow.
In the voodoo religion, voodoo dolls are not as evil as we've come to believe. The pins traditionally stuck in the dolls were actually holding messages for the spirits. The idea that these pins were meant to hurt people is pure imagination, invented by writers trying to cash in on the fear of voodoo cults.
Coming up, the psychic powers of healing and crime solving are alive and well in Russia. What's the secret? Meet the amazing Russian psychic next.
With a Sightings investigative team working in Russia, we've been intrigued by the...
I feel like they really treated Voodoo with, I mean, they showed the wilder aspects of it, but I think overall they were pretty respectful about the way they talked about Voodoo and showed it and everything.
The amount of respect and credibility given to the paranormal by government agencies there. In Moscow, the Scientific Research Center for Traditional Medicine is conducting serious research into psychic healing. For them,
maybe he
psychics
just
who
like
heal
maybe he
illness
just
are put into the category
moved on,
of
you know.
traditional medicine.
Red Square continues to symbolize the heart
Maybe
and soul
he's watching,
of what used to be the Soviet Union.
Dr.
The military
Disrespect now.
parades and communist presence of the past are gone now, but a team of psychics is free to meet to perform an exorcism on the evil spirits that they believe haunt the Kremlin and Lenin's tomb.
Haunts the Kremlin.
Lenin's ghost is evil. He is still here with many other high-level communists who were buried in the square. It's our duty as psychics to purge the Kremlin of these demons who have a stranglehold on the people.
Exorcising ghosts in a nation's capital may seem like a bizarre practice to Americans.
Oh,
but
wow.
Russia is a land where psychic power is accepted by not only the citizens, but by the scientific community as well. This psychic claims that the supernatural
these just like
energy
homeless
emanating
Russian
from his
people?
hands is so strong that he can control the needle of a compass. And beyond street demonstrations like this, psychics work with doctors to reportedly heal a variety of life-threatening illnesses. The Moscow Police Department regularly employs psychics in unsolved cases, including kidnapping, missing persons, and murder. The Central Clearinghouse for the Study of Clairvoyance and Psychic Healing is the Scientific Research Center of Traditional Medicine in Moscow.
Oh, so Ananja, you think he did a preemptive, like he was just dodging the bridge burn?
The center's director is Dr. Vladimir
Mickey Rourke and a
Galperin.
light-skinned black girl. What movie was
Our
that?
center is a fantastic research and treatment clinic. After conferring with their own doctors, patients make appointments for sessions with our psychic healers. The healers meet with the patients and design a program that heals the person without drugs or machines. Our psychics are the best in the world.
Oh
and have
yeah,
documented
good
results
pull,
without
man.
even touching
Angel
the
Heart
person.
with De Niro
Dr.
and Rourke.
Galperin backs up his claims with data and statistics from years of scientific study. He claims his psychics have had success with cases where medical doctors have given up
get
hope.
that from the library.
People with terminal illnesses see this center as their last chance.
Every psychic on our staff is certified yearly by the scientific committee. They test the psychic's powers and verify their abilities. Only board-certified healers work here. We guard against charlatans and fakes. There's too much important work to be done.
In addition
We're working
to healing,
against the
psychics
charlatans.
working at the center have branched out into other areas. Here, Moscow police detectives ask the psychics' help in solving a missing persons case.
Is that Woody
A
Harrelson?
man came from Prisk to Moscow to visit relatives. After visiting, he disappeared without a trace.
The number of unsolved crimes in
They're like, listen, guys, you have to sit at the kids' table.
Moscow has risen dramatically. Overworked police are using every means possible to solve crimes.
So, you want to use our psychics as a means of finding the whereabouts of these people?
Absolutely. We find less than 10% of these people using traditional methods.
The police files are presented to the staff in a roundtable meeting. Dr. Galperin asks each psychic to focus on the energy of the victim.
This is not black magic. Our psychics have gifts from God that they use to focus and interpret energy
Wow.
particles that are too small to be detected
Woo.
by standard instruments. They use photographs only as a tool to help them visualize.
The observations of each psychic are recorded, and the results
Is this a
are
real
startling.
government agency?
The group unanimously agrees as to the fate of the victim. They say that the man in this photograph was brutally murdered by organized crime because he knew too much. The psychic Podliagan receives the clearest vision.
Look at this great
And
Napoleon
working with the
Dynamite
Moscow
hand
street
dance
map,
this guy's
he
doing.
indicates exactly where he believes the man's body can be found.
Oh, in a cemetery?
Podliagan Podlyagan led police to this location, an old Russian Orthodox cemetery in East Moscow. Strangely, cemeteries are a common hiding place for murder victims in Russia. Organized crime often buries bodies under existing coffins. To pinpoint the exact location of the body in this case, Podlyagan uses divining rods, thin stainless steel pointers he believes pick up psychic energy.
Oh my God.
It's a macabre form of dowsing, designed not to find water, but bodies. Podlyagan concludes that the
in a
body
cemetery
is within 30 meters of this location. The group then relays their findings to police detective Mikhail Ivanovich, who has had success working with psychics in the past.
I've worked many cases with Podlyagan, and I know him to be correct more than 80% of the time. The case we are currently investigating is no different. In the past, we have brought in the canine squad with a homicide detective. The team follows the lead that Podlyagan has given them. When the dog signals that something is buried, the men immediately dig. In the winter, this is a difficult process. The frozen ground can hold up an investigation.
Light a sparkler.
But in the past, when we've had such clear indications, it has only been a matter of time before the body was found. When a body is unearthed, it is very gruesome, as bodies that have been buried for a long time without preservatives decay very rapidly. Once the positive ID is made with police techniques, the case is closed and we can all go home. I cannot say that every case has a positive resolution, because many crimes just remain unsolved.
But despite his cautious attitude, Detective Ivanovich remains hopeful that psychics, like Podlyagan, will be a successful addition to his department. During our investigation,
let's make sure we go out at night.
He has located the exact location of this victim, buried directly underneath the coffin in this burial plot. At the time of our investigation, the frozen ground and a scarcity of resources forced the police to postpone digging at this site.
Cope.
Everything is difficult in Moscow right now. Our access to the necessary equipment is limited. We are frustrated because we would like
Listen,
to
guys, I would totally show you where this guy's buried, but it's super cold out today,
the
okay?
investigation will continue at that time.
The tragedy of cases like this one takes its toll on the psychics, but they are encouraged by the healing work that they're also involved with at Dr. Galperin's research center.
We have many people who want to invest in our work, and we want to teach the world about these things. It's exciting to help so many people find health. And for those we cannot save, we can at least illuminate the mystery, and with a light on mystery, we will be led to true understanding.
Moscow police have now confirmed that after the spring thaw, they will dig at the site indicated by the psychic Podlyagan.
Maybe we'll get an update.
The fact that the Moscow Police Department credits their psychic detectives with an 80% success rate is astounding. Perhaps with the new spirit of openness between Russia and the United States, some of their
new
psychics
spirit
may
of
soon
openness.
be invited here to test their accuracy on American soil.
Coming up next, has science discovered the cosmic secret to time travel?
If you create the right kind of wormhole, you could also use it to travel through time.
For astronomers,
Wow.
few phenomena are as intriguing as black holes. To us, they may seem like little more than dark, empty voids in space. But to the trained scientist, black holes represent a world of possibilities, including the potential for real-life time travel.
What do you think?
Literally black holes.
If it was like announced that we were going to send, like for some reason technology would allow us to finally send people into a black hole, like would you sign up to be part of the like volunteer crew?
Or star-gobbling objects. According to some estimates, there are about 100 million black holes in our galaxy. So there's a very, very, very slight chance that sometime over the next couple of 100 billion years we might run into a black hole. The Hubble Space Telescope recently took what may be among the most historic photos in the history of science, and those are photos of what appears to be a black hole. This is the first really convincing evidence that black holes do exist. This photo shows what appears to be a kind of donut-shaped object surrounding a point of light. It's the area around the black hole where matter tends to clump together just before it's sucked ultimately to its doom inside the black hole.
Now that these new pictures have changed black holes from scientific theory to scientific fact, space researchers are exploring the possibility that theories about time travel and interdimensional space travel could also one day be scientific fact.
For years, when people looked at black holes, they thought of them as time machines. What people are talking about instead now are things called cosmic wormholes, which are special.
You'd volunteer up. Oh, I know who you'd
Although it
volunteer.
has yet to be proven,
The whole
scientists are
Void Watch
pursuing the
crew
idea
into the
that
black hole.
wormholes are really tears in the fabric of space. Could these holes be the intergalactic subway tunnels of the future?
If you create the right kind of wormhole,
I think you
could
just get
also
torn
use it to
apart.
travel
What do you
through
think?
time.
If time travel is possible, then why haven't we been invaded by hordes of tourists from the future?
Just as
If time travel existed, don't you think you would have time traveled by now? It's foolishness.
black holes were once only theory, scientists hope to someday prove that time travel is also possible. And they're looking to the stars for that proof.
The universe is an enormous place, and people have to remember that the numbers are definitely in favor of the possibility of the existence of life, perhaps even intelligent life on other worlds.
I am very hopeful that wormholes do exist because
What a
they would
greasy
create
fella.
the option of being able to travel to the distant stars.
If you've had a paranormal experience, our Sightings investigative team would like to know. At 1-900-740-SIGHT. Each call 75 cents a minute. Average call lasts 2 minutes, and you must be 18 years or older. Expressed are not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information. Tonight, a Sightings exclusive.
Never have I come across anything like this before.
Oh, this is an entire episode, it looks like, devoted to spirit photography. I agree. It is kind of. I feel like it's the TV version of those Time Life Mysteries of the Unknown books.
A viewer captures eerie images and bizarre messages on Polaroid film. Is it an entity communicating from beyond?
And we asked him his name, and he answered.
Our special investigation reveals startling evidence that baffles photographic
Oh,
experts
look at the computer.
and psychics alike.
Back when conspiracies weren't like so heavily interwoven with politics, and conspiracy theories weren't weaponized in the same way. Like I feel like it was a much better, like you could really have have conversations about conspiracies and not have them spiral into like, you know, geopolitics or culture war bullshit.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. Tonight, a special extended report on the most important ghost investigation ever conducted on Sightings. For the first time ever, hard evidence has been found that could prove the existence of communication with spirits.
Hard evidence.
This historic case began with a call to our Sightings hotline. A viewer contacted us to say
somebody
that he
paid
had
75
captured ghostly
cents.
communication on Polaroid instant film.
Okay. Do you think that the person actually called into the phone line, or do you think they BS that to make it look like if you call, you have a real chance of getting on the show? Because they don't real. I think this is the first time, isn't it, where we've had one come in from the tip line that I can remember anyway.
These are the pictures that have astonished researchers and left photographic experts baffled.
Why the orb?
They contain messages and images that seem to indicate communication with spirits.
At first, the photographs frightened me.
John Matowski,
You snap one of
defensive
these things
tackle
and you
for
start
the
asking
Oakland
questions, it
Raiders,
starts
78 to 81.
I don't know how to explain how bizarre that feels.
Genius, Lord. You tell me. Yes.
Never, ever have I come across anything like
That's
this
a
at all
toupee.
From their hillside home in Los Angeles, John Huckert and John Matkowski called us about their photographs. It all started less than a year ago, when both men began to sense a strange presence.
I'll be standing there reading something at the desk or something, and I'll feel a hand come up and place it on my shoulder. And of course, I turn around to see who it is, and there's nobody there. And then I get sort of a jolt.
Thought I heard somebody would touch my
adrenaline
shoulder.
or whatever. It makes me kind of nervous. Another thing I've seen in the last year is I've just seen this sort of free-floating shadow moving across the floor, or the desk, or the wall, or whatever. And when I see it, at first I think it's, well, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's moving very slow. And then when I try to mask out all the possibilities for what could be causing it, there's nothing causing it. The other thing that I've seen, that apparently I'm the only one who's seen this, is I've seen this old man standing over near the couch. I see him out of the corner of my eye, and it's just there for an hardly tangible
He dresses
instant.
like
It's just
Jedi
there.
Joy in the red
And then
black
when you
plaid.
look and blink, it's not there anymore.
I felt things like sort of like a sunburn on my arms. It's the only way I can explain it. It was sort of like a tingly, like a sunburn. That's the only thing I can think of, and that's how I usually know if there's some kind of presence here or something.
In an effort to document the shadowy presence, the two men started taking pictures, unsure if anything so intangible could be captured on film.
I took the picture of the bathroom door over by the bathroom and got this really strange-looking thing that was either scary or comical.
The first images they captured had distinct eyes, mouth, and body. But then the pictures took an unexpected turn.
What do you guys think?
And the results shocked everyone. They started receiving answers to specific questions.
We asked him what his name was, just assuming that it's a presence. And we asked him his name, and he answered on the Polaroid. He told us his name was Wright. And we were like, we still didn't believe it. So we just continued asking questions to the middle of the air in the living room, just to nothing. And we'd ask him if he was a good ghost or bad ghost, just really named questions to begin with. And he answered friend.
Who or what was causing this communication? When contacted, Polaroid was at a loss to explain the phenomenon.
Polaroid.
So far, more than 100 photos have been taken.
100 photos. It's so clear.
English, but more recent writing
Invoke
has
lust.
been in Latin.
We have asked him if he died in this house, and his answer was in Latin. He answered that, among other things, he did die in his house.
Once John Matkowski contacted us, we assembled a sightings investigative team to be led by Carrie Gaynor, noted UCLA parapsychologist who has investigated more than 800
Blue
haunting
ribbon
cases
panel
in his
assembled.
20 years of field work. Carrie Gaynor's famous photographic work in the notorious Entity case uniquely qualified him for this assignment.
In my line of work, we spend a great deal of time waiting and watching and wondering and hoping. We don't experience phenomena very often.
I think we've seen this guy
people that
before.
live in the home are there all the time, and as a researcher, I just come in and leave. But when something happens, it's so exciting, it's so exhilarating. It's a moment of connectedness with something that's just mysterious, exciting, unknown.
Carrie Gaynor began his survey using a magnetometer to measure the physical environment.
The reason we're using a magnetometer is just to see if there are any changes in the environment, basically with the onset of the phenomena. So that's the intriguing thing, is to walk the house and get a reading on it.
That's the intriguing
And then if
thing.
something happens, to have the magnetometer out and see if there's any change in the reading during the phenomena itself.
Since the ghostwriting first appeared, several of John's friends
Is there a
have also been
lightsaber
able
fight?
to capture messages on film. We asked them to participate in our investigation. Researchers carefully documented every step of the process. To minimize the possibility of a hoax, 4 cameras were on site. Sealed film, direct from Polaroid, was checked, rechecked, and logged. Marty Elkin was the first to get an answer.
Are most spirits good spirits or bad spirits?
30 seconds later, this astonishing message appeared.
There are numerous remedial lemures.
Huh?
Do we have a Latin dictionary? Lemures. In Roman mythology, the night-walking spirits of the dead.
Hello.
The nervous laughter masked the tension and excitement in the room. Since the supposed spirit seemed to want to communicate with Marty, she asked another question.
Right, will you be with them for a long time?
And as the film developed, another answer appeared in Latin.
Marty, what are you thinking right now? How strange this is.
Translated, the message reads, "All this is over now." Edson Williams, a special effects expert from the Brooks Institute of Photography in Santa Barbara, California, was on site to examine the photographs immediately.
These were shots that were taken today. A few minutes ago, they were shot and came out of the Polaroid. I actually watched them eject out of the Polaroid, and now I'm in the process of evaluating, trying to decide if they're actually authentic or if they've been manipulated. There was a moment there where I thought, oh my God, and I was in the Polaroid, which made it even spookier. I'm in the background of the Polaroid, so I have a picture of me with ghost writing across it, and I really it made me feel that there could be something in the house.
Many controlled photographs were taken with no results. And then, suddenly, another message.
I think I need to see these in person to really know. You know what I mean? I think this is something you got to witness it. You learn to speak American. Yeah, that's non-English speak. Maybe they were like, maybe they traveled here and died.
Ad literal.
Rick, what did you ask?
Should we deport
That's
their
what
ghosts?
I think of this in comparison to when he was alive.
David, or is that Peter Jackson back in the day?
No, it's not his.
You say David Koresh.
Ad literum. Okay, to the letter, exactly.
You have to establish a chain of
Paranormal
evidence.
deportation.
You have to be able to observe the phenomena from the beginning to the end. So we have to load the film. We have to show that it's a sealed pack. We have to show that it's our camera. We have to fire it. We have to control the film as it comes out. We have to establish a chain of evidence. And once we do that, I'll feel much more comfortable.
When we return, our night-long investigation continues with more startling
I like the
images and
ghost in
eerie
that
messages. Then, our photo expert analyzes the pictures and tries to duplicate them. And later, a paranormal investigator attempts psychic contact with the ghostwriter.
Remember that guy with the big mustache?
Hard evidence is the ultimate goal for every ghost investigator. And the instant photographs in this case might be just the kind of proof investigators have been searching for since the earliest days of photography. Early camera technology was crude, and hoaxes were commonplace. But with the publication of the famous Lincoln photograph, spirit photography began to be taken seriously. Significantly, virtually every example of ghosts on film has been exposed as fraudulent. Only now has Sightings been able to document what appears to be
it is a
images
cool
on
looking
film
picture.
in real time, with witnesses present. Here, you will see, without editing, the ghost writing phenomenon on film. First, a fresh, sealed package of factory direct film is loaded into John's camera. This camera has been examined by photographic experts who found no obvious evidence of tampering. In this continuous action sequence, John Huckert poses a specific question. A picture is taken, and an answer to the question appears on film while the Sightings cameras roll.
Is he here because you guys, or is he here because this home is his?
Why are we moved off of the camera?
Because of the house itself.
Well, that's it. This is no longer reliable evidence. What were they thinking?
Hold it up.
This is
45
pointless
seconds
now.
later,
They panned
writing
away.
appears on the photograph.
What does it say?
Genius loci. Oh, Graham.
Who asked the question?
John asked it. The other John took it.
The question for this picture was, are you here for John or the house? And the answer came out in Latin. We looked it up, and the answer is fairly intriguing. The exact translation is the guardian spirit of a man or place.
Without any obvious signs of tampering, the Sightings team had to ask, could this actually be a guardian spirit communicating from the grave? Or a hoax not yet solved?
Ghost Rider,
The
come
camera
on.
and the exposed film were immediately sent to the Brooks Institute of Photography. Edson Williams, who had been on site during the investigation, developed one possible explanation.
This is so cool, this old tech.
I scanned in the Polaroid at a high resolution using a digital scanner. When I scanned it in, I zoomed in on the image and noticed there to be individual hair fragments in the text. I increased the contrast and sharpness and edge sharpness of the image, and the hairs became more apparent. It appears to me, under high magnification, that is some kind of fiber, more than likely cotton.
In his lab, Williams demonstrated for Sightings how he believes the writing could have been created.
The initial step was to shoot pulled cotton with a 4x5 camera using E6 film. The next step was to pre-expose the Polaroid film. I removed the cover sheet of the Polaroid pack and inserted the transparency with the text on it. Using a flash pack,
I exposed the Polaroid with the text. I removed the transparency, I reinserted the cover sheet, and loaded the film normally.
Although Williams did create writing similar to that of the alleged ghostwriter, his elaborate process took over an hour to complete. It would be difficult to recreate the same process in the house with observers.
It looks like cotton, but then again.
Experts at the Polaroid Corporation in Waltham, Massachusetts.
His argument that 10 seconds of panning away was more than enough time to load a different pack into that camera. Like, why did they... I mean, I know why, literally, but I'm saying if they believed it to be true, why would you ever pan away when you say you're going to show everything on camera? Like, the time argument doesn't matter when you cheated, you know?
We're at a loss to explain the ghostwriting phenomenon. I spoke with photo expert
There's
Howard
Creed
Wurzel.
from The Office.
We have never encountered it, and we've been selling film for now 50 years to billions of customers, especially
guy's a
film
photography
with
expert?
even higher sensitivity than the current color film. It could be what they're saying that it is. It's a possibility that somehow there's a field that they are capturing. Physically, I don't know how they could do that.
The two individuals who brought the story to our attention say they didn't manipulate the film. The Sightings
They
people
promise.
who have been there on site and watched what's happened
Bullshit.
say that they didn't manipulate the film. Does that put your skepticism at rest?
It depends on where the film pack came from that was loaded into the camera. If the film pack came out of a sealed box from Polaroid that had not had the seal broken, then the answer is yes, that would eliminate my skepticism.
That looks like a fresh. We screened a tape of the continuous action sequence inside
It's
the
not
house.
continuous
and Howard
action.
Wurzel saw factory sealed film inserted in the cameras.
This is where Sightings is veering away from their normal somewhat reliability. Referring to that as uninterrupted or continuous is just, it's foolishness. We can see with our eyes that they pan away to the guy in the red and black shirt for like 10 seconds.
Very accomplished if it's a hoax. If it's real, it's something I've never seen before.
Just on a personal level, isn't there part of you that would really like there to be something unusual going
This is the reality of it, in my opinion.
on here?
Oh, of course. I mean, that's the desire to find spirits or design things that we haven't been able to find. It would be an uncovering of a whole new world to people if it were real.
No way any of us can really know, I guess. This sort of has validated some of my beliefs that there is something on the other side, I guess is how you could say it.
For parapsychologist Carrie Gaynor, the investigation will continue.
The potential here is really unlimited. If they can write on Polaroid film while it's inside a camera, what else can they do? I mean, what next? It reaches to the outer limits of our imagination.
Joining us now is Carrie Gaynor with the outcome of his investigation. Carrie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Is this case in any way like other cases that you've investigated?
I personally have never come across anything like this in the 20 years that I've been doing research, and I'm quite familiar with the literature, and I've never seen anything like this in the literature either.
Where does the investigation go from here? What more do you need to know to draw some conclusions?
Well, what I would like to do is to continue to go back there and try to photograph this writing again and see if I can get it out of my camera with my film to make sure there's been no manipulation on the part of the people in the home.
Is this in some way more persuasive or more puzzling for you than past so-called ghost phenomena with cameras?
Well, it's very exciting because I was there when the pictures were taken and the writing came out. But because it's Polaroid film, it's very difficult to analyze it properly. There's no negative to study. It would be very interesting to get this kind of writing on film with a negative.
If it's not a hoax, what does it mean?
Well, there are two possibilities if it's not a hoax. One is that this is mind-to-film communication, so that it's some kind of psychokinetic process. Their mind is impacting the film itself. The other possibility is
every interaction with film.
And that, of course, is the more interesting possibility, but both of them are very exciting to me.
Carrie, did the ghost writing change in any significant way over time?
Well, luckily they had dated their pictures, and when we laid them in chronological order, we could see a fairly definite pattern of some kind of growth or learning. The writing, the handwriting itself seemed to improve in some way, which I found very interesting.
Yeah, I find that very interesting too. Why would an immortal entity, you know what I mean? That doesn't make sense to me.
Kerry Gaynor, thanks for your investigative work in this case. When we return, a different kind of investigation, when paranormal investigator Peter
I think
James
we got bamboozled
records
on
his
that
psychic
one.
impressions at the Ghost Rider house.
Coming up next, our exclusive
Here he
Sightings
is.
investigation continues when a paranormal expert attempts psychic contact with the Ghost Rider.
In our search for all possible explanations for the ghost riding phenomenon, we contacted Peter James, one of America's foremost psychics. You might remember Peter's astonishing work with sightings during our investigation at Alcatraz. Well, because of his startling communication with apparent spirits inside that haunted prison, we felt Peter could provide important
Yeah, he's been on Sightings at least a couple times during, he did I think he was in the original spirit photography episode, and then he was definitely in another ghost episode. Remember, he was like walking around the house talking to the ghost?
insights into this case. Surprisingly, at first, he was skeptical. Peter has a long history of exploring and documenting cases of hauntings, apparitions, and spirits that are not easily explained or understood. But he also has been involved in cases he has exposed as obvious fraud.
In all of my years of delving into the paranormal world, I have never seen an entity present itself in that
How
fashion.
dramatic.
But I will say that all things are possible.
Wow, what a
and
camera
perhaps
angle.
it's something new that I have never encountered.
That's the thumbnail, by the
Peter
way.
James works by reading the vibrations he claims to feel when he is in the presence of spirits.
I feel that this area here is within the bedroom is a hot spot, or perhaps this is where
It's a hot spot in the bedroom.
individual died in this particular area, because this is where I feel it
Barney Miller?
strongest.
Not only did he feel a presence,
The
but
gray
within
hair and
minutes,
dark
Peter said
mustache.
he was receiving several names telepathically.
I received the name of Gilbert.
Gilbert.
I get, there is a John, there is a Stephen or Stephen.
I'm getting the names of Lewis, Gilbert, Booger, Lamar, Poindexter, Wormser,
There is a Robert.
Takashi.
But two most prevalent names, I say three, is Ramon or Raymond in the bedroom, and Evelyn.
Oh, wow, that's
who
interesting,
is
Southwest.
here,
Hey, Backwoods.
And Amelia is throughout. And I am getting an essence of all three of those names vibrationally.
John Huckert and John Matkowski had already researched the names of the home's previous owners. Although they had not shared this information with Peter James, he had correctly named several people on their list.
Now, this is a list of the people who've owned the house since all the way back to 1848, when there wasn't even a house here. And going over the list, we see in 1911 and 1912, 3 women lived here. One of them was named Amelia.
Oh, look,
In
they've got a dossier.
1941, someone named Robert was here. In
Wow.
66, someone named Gilbert owned this property.
Having successfully identified 3 potential spirits inside the house, Peter found what he called a spiritual vortex, a kind of doorway through which spirits might be entering the house.
Let's
I feel a very strong vibration, like something is definitely coming up from the floor and wants to come up to the
I would try to go
ceiling.
through the
And,
vortex
I
into
got
the
that
veil.
tingling, sensation right now. And it's also very cold here. It's almost like one would stand on a foot massager and feel the energy coming in from your feet, through your feet, from the floor. I'm feeling that vibrational feeling, like something's coming. And if you look at my legs, they're actually trembling. And it feels like something is coming from
Nice
below,
crotch
and it's
shot.
going through my entire body.
Polaroid pictures of Peter James standing in the vortex also contain
Standing in the
strange
vortex.
images.
Oh,
Feels
wow,
like
look at that.
something could literally
come from below and come through the floor.
He's cooked.
And it feels like something is beginning to surface. So whatever is on the Polaroids, it is their way of saying, pay attention, this is how we're communicating with you, but they can't quite get it into words.
Peter James felt strong, unsettling psychic vibrations during his entire stay in the house, and the pictures taken of him did seem to show evidence of the ghostwriting phenomenon.
My experience here today clearly is telling me to convey to you that your probing here should be ongoing.
During his investigation, Peter James felt that the physical body of the ghostwriter could be...
If I was a ghost and I was doing, hey, what's up, KP? If I was a ghost and I was haunting somebody, I would earn their trust and then give them fake lottery numbers and then just completely ghost. Like, once I gave them the fake numbers, I would act like I'd never talk to them again.
Buried on the property. In a bizarre quest for an explanation to the ghostwriting phenomenon, John Huckert and John Matkowski are now digging up their property in search of human remains. We'll keep you updated on their findings. Like our story tonight, if you photographed
We're gonna go dig up our backyard
paranormal activity,
because a guy with a Groucho Marx mustache said so.
If you've had a paranormal experience, our Sightings investigators would like to know at 1-900-740-SITE.
Dead sea cucumber on his lip.
SITE. Each call 75 cents a minute.
Imagine that guy shows up at your place and he's like, listen, fellas, I think you should dig the whole place up.
Average call lasts 2 minutes and you must be 18 years or older. Again, the Sightings hotline is 1-900-740-7483.
Join us next time for new investigations.
Dig up the yard, dig up the foundation.
For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
Henry
Don't go
Winkler.
Away. There's another episode of Sightings coming up next. Sunday, L.A. Law's Corbin Burnson guest stars on Rock Live. Then, if a mysterious
Lot to think
object
about
zips
after
by
that
you on
episode.
the highway, no need to call Sightings. It's probably just Al Bundy
Leslie
cruising on his
Clark,
new
isn't that a
motorcycle.
TikTok
Meet
lol
the
account?
new leader of the pack on an all-new Married with Children.
I bet South to West likes Married with Children. Ooh, look at this ghost version of Groucho. Sathergate.
The following program deals with controversial subjects.
Okay, so this one is Season 2, Episode 16, Searching the Skies, which I'm assuming is going to be UFOs, Ouija boards, and Phobos 2 update.
Subjects. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on
You never
all
got into it?
available
That's kind of
information.
surprising.
Tonight on Sightings.
It was a ship as big as my house.
A startling report
risque.
on the latest UFO sightings with astonishing footage captured on home video. Then,
The Ouija board is not a toy and it's not a game.
we uncover the sinister power of
Christina
the Ouija
Applegate, dude, she was
And
so
is
hot
an
back in the
alien
day.
space station casting this shadow across the lunar surface.
Oh, more of a Roseanne guy? Fair. I feel like Ruby is kind of a Kelly Bundy type character.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. Tonight, an unprecedented review of the best UFO footage that we've received since Sightings first began asking for your videotapes. Out of the hundreds of photos and tapes that we have received, only a few can truly be called UFOs. Most of the material has been dismissed by our investigative team as conventional aircraft, atmospheric phenomena, or hoaxes. But there are some that defy explanation, even by the experts who make it their
Swamp
business
gas from
to
the
study
aquifer.
UFOs. Tucson, Arizona. Topeka, Kansas. Bellevue, Wisconsin.
Wait a minute, I'm seeing a pattern here. These are all
Gulf
cities.
Breeze, Florida. Branford, Connecticut.
New Haven? No way.
New
What?
Boston, New Hampshire. Kanazawa, Japan. Carp, Ontario. Something is happening in the skies above these cities, and it's being captured on videotape.
It was a ship. It was a ship as big as my house.
She got a picture of the Pope behind her. Oh, look at Bruce.
knowing
Oh,
that I was
Bruce.
looking at something that I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, King Kong Bundy. I remember that.
That it's the most
Boots Eckert.
dramatic thing and the most astounding thing, the most
Warren, Rhode
important
Island.
thing that could happen here on Earth.
In Brantford, Connecticut.
Do you think there's any chance that all of these people that we watch, these colorful characters, do you think they're all just government psyops put out to like sow, you know, seeds of discord and, you know, just general chaos?
Connecticut, George Bennett was videotaping a high school football game when this beautiful sunset caught his attention. But watch what appears unexpectedly on the left-hand side of the screen.
Here we go. Whoa.
In Bellevue, Wisconsin, local TV cameraman Dave Hooker was taping this windmill for a story about a local farm.
Dave Hooker.
When he
Hooker,
viewed the
please
tape back
return.
at the
Did you see
station,
that?
This is what he found. Jeff Sino is a video analyst who
computer.
studies hundreds of tapes of alleged UFOs every year.
Here you can see an object moving behind a windmill here. Right there, it disappears into a cloud just before it goes behind this windmill.
Copyright 1992.
Clouds that day were at 25,000 feet, cirrus clouds. You know where the camera was put, you know the distance to the windmill. You can determine its size by looking at the image size here. Go through some trigonometry, and you'll find out that that UFO was about 10 miles away, up at 25,000 feet. And the size works out to about 500 feet long and doing 14,000 miles an hour, which is, again, nothing that a conventional...
This guy looks like the guy from Game of Thrones that was one of the blonde people and he got his hand cut off. He looks like that guy, but like, you know, in a movie where he plays a computer programmer.
...aircraft is capable of doing.
Gulf Breeze, Florida has been a UFO hotspot for more than 6 years.
Gulf Breeze?
Resident Bruce Morrison has made 177 sightings since 1980.
Oh my God, 177.
On September 2nd, 1991, Morrison was out with a group of friends when he recorded this object with his home video camera.
Oh, look, it's brighter, brighter.
Why would you copyright it if your main goal was, I need to get this in front of as many people as possible, people have to see this? Why would you copyright it? Like Alex Jones, InfoWars? It says right on the DVD case, please copy this. Like, and distribute it, and like you can react to it online. So like the idea that this guy wants to prove that UFOs are real, yet he's got to copyright this footage, like doesn't make sense to me. Goose Gossage, I remember that guy.
Just drop something out, Gary.
Oh my God.
Drop these little objects out, and they would go out at an angle from the red object we were looking at, stop and turn red, and we would have two red objects sitting there.
It gives you the impression of sometimes of fireworks. Sometimes it looks like a string coming out with a white ball on the end of it.
Bye-bye.
These startling videos are due in large part
Man, this
to the
is
home
cool.
video
I like this
revolution.
video.
The proliferation of UFOs on tape has analysts working overtime,
this
including
guy.
Robert Nathan of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
My feeling is the majority of the people who see something at night in the sky are telling a legitimate story in the sense that they certainly believe what they're seeing. But there's some people who are actively performing hoaxes.
Now that I like. I like the fact that he is able to say that he doesn't think they're lying because he thinks that they believe they're telling the truth, which I think is an important thing when you're dealing with colorful people.
And it's a very difficult thing to separate these people.
This is a rare daytime sighting recorded in Kanazawa, Japan. A shining
Cody
reflective
Turbo.
disc descends rapidly, then suddenly, with tremendous speed,
Why
the
is this
disc
being
shoots
shot
off
with a
at an acute
chainsaw
angle.
in the picture?
Watch closely as the camera zooms in. The outline of a saucer shape is unmistakable, but is this a true UFO or an optical illusion created by the sun? On August 19,
Almonte Carp.
1991,
That's my new
in the town
name,
of Carp,
Almonte
on the outskirts
Carp.
of Ottawa, Ontario, an anonymous
What a great
videotaper
name,
shot some
Almonte
of the most
Carp.
compelling UFO footage ever recorded.
In February of 1992, I received a rather unusual package in the mail,
Stephen
including a
Tobolowsky.
videotape and a series of documents. It was postmarked from the Ottawa, Ontario area without a return address. The documents and the label on the videotape made reference to an individual by the name of Guardian as the author.
The videotape shows what appears to be a
Has a
disc-shaped
thumbprint on it.
object landing in a field behind the house of Diane Labanec.
Wait.
She was an eyewitness to
Uh-oh, look. They landed this ship out in the middle of a cornfield by a giant abandoned house. Uh-oh. That's what happened to me.
phenomenon.
On my property,
Remember, I threw the ear of
lots of
corn and it hit the
bright
big. I made a big
flames.
metal
There were
sound,
not
but when I went out there was
spraying
nothing there.
fires. There were more individual flames going extremely high, and a lot of smoke. I saw this bright light. Right on top of it was like a beak, and it was blue light pulsing, and it had a light right on the bottom, and a light right in the middle of it. And I seen a ship just coming down over the tree and going very closer to the flames. That night was a very traumatic night for me. I can always remember that night. It will never be forgotten.
Dr. A.J. Quarrington is one of the Labanec's neighbors. He also witnessed the UFO.
Oh, look at this
I
guy.
looked out the back window, and in the sky was a great...
Look at his collection of crutches back here. Dr. A.J. That's a great name, too. A.J. Carpington. Almonte Carp sounds like a pool nickname. I don't know why. It just sounds cool to me. Meet my lawyer, Almonte Carp.
Golden globe with a...
Golden globes?
Red rim. The only thing that came to mind quickly was
that's
that it was
cool.
lightning, but I'd never seen lightning in
I
a
want to go
circular
right into that
form.
hole.
There you can get some indication that you're looking underneath with lights on it, and then see a surface on the top here. This is a freeze frame here. You can see some indication of a bottom, and then actually from the glow behind it, you get kind of a silhouette of the shape of it. So from this aim, you can see some indication that there's a solid...
Yeah, didn't you see his crutch collection on the behind him in the couch? Can you see? Does my cursor show up on the screen? It should. I try to John Madden with it a lot.
craft there that you can see the top of and also see something underneath.
Especially when I need you guys to see someone in the audience on a talk show.
But at least there is the hint of a cylindrical object here.
One of the first things that we found when we located the site way at the back of the field down there by the tree line was that there was one specific area, circular pattern really, where all of the plant life had been exposed to some form of radiation. And by that I mean it just kind of melted. Real healthy bushes just melted to the ground.
The footage
Yeah, I
was so
haven't
compelling,
either.
we went straight to the Canadian Air Force, trying to rule out the possibility that the UFO is a secret military craft.
Man, I love these like
events described,
these lights.
Shown.
Captain,
do not
hold
match,
on. Wait, where was he from?
Any of Canadian airplane, any match.
Rule out the possibility that the UFO is a secret
Sorry, I
military
want to see
craft.
where that guy's from.
The events described.
Captain Louis Nadeau. Captain Louis Nadeau. Captain Louis Nadeau. Captain Louis. Wait, is it Louis or Lewis? Captain Louis Nadeau. Captain Lou. Okay, now we got this guy's literally Captain Lou. Fuck the simulation, but Captain Louis Nadeau, Canadian Department of National Defense. Okay.
Shown.
I'm going to use this as an in to talk to Bethadone. Tell her I saw one of her countrymen.
Movements or helicopter movement.
It wasn't an ordinary airplane, and it wasn't just an ordinary light. It was something more than that. It was a ship. It was a ship as big as my house.
Too many of them.
Oh, here's
appear
this
to be
guy,
honest
man.
People, too much of the data is too difficult to fake. It gets to the point when you have 40,000 reports.
This guy is not sleeping. He's, I don't know what he's probably taking, like truck stop uppers or something to stay awake and monitor all of his computer banks. But this guy is out of it. He's a great character.
Of UFOs per year, of which about a quarter of them aren't easily explainable. To assume that all of those are misidentifications.
His hair
frauds,
sweatily stuck to his
hoaxes,
forehead. I love it.
Secret aircraft just doesn't add up.
Since our report, Bob Exler has had additional phone conversations
Bob
with
Exler.
Guardian, the mysterious UFO
We spoke to
cameraman.
Almonte
He said
Carp.
he is holding more videotape of the Ottawa UFO, and we hope to bring you that footage on a future edition of
He does
Sightings.
kind of look like that guy.
Coming up.
The Ouija board is not a toy, and it's not a
Okay,
game.
we need to watch this because we've got the witch content is on the horizon. So I've got to see whether or not I can risk doing a Ouija board stream.
These servicemen claimed their Ouija board told them to go AWOL. We uncover the sinister side of Ouija next.
What do you think? Is the Ouija board a harmless toy or a pipeline to untapped psychic power?
Oh, no, I
It's
like the
marketed as
sound
a
of that.
game, and the manufacturer
Can you
claims
imagine
no
me
connection with the paranormal. But others
with
believe
unlimited
that Ouija
psychic
boards
power?
have been known to make startling predictions.
He has a dossier,
There
absolutely.
are even
yeah.
some people who claim
Probably
the
a
Ouija
shoebox
board
is full
has
of them.
changed their lives forever.
The Ouija board is not a toy, and it's not a game, and I'd like very much to see it taken out of toy stores.
Okay, Penny Rich. Penny Rich. Okay, whatever.
Unfortunately, there are many negative experiences.
Okay, we've definitely seen Dr. Peter Moscow before. I remember him. He was, in fact, he's been a thumbnail.
With Ouija boards, just as there are positive ones.
I mean, I felt like I was being raped.
Wow. Wow. Jeez.
Well, when I first started using the Ouija board, it was just for fun. And then about a year ago, I took it out and something happened.
It got
and I
dark
got scared,
fast.
I put it away, and I went to bed. It was about 1:30. I kept
Robin
feeling like there was
Banks.
something or someone in the room. And I tried to get up, and I was pushed down. This tremendous force on my chest was picking me up and throwing me back down again. I felt like I was being attacked. I grabbed the sheets and I tried to hold down to the bed, but I couldn't. I mean, I felt like I was being raped.
The Ouija board, in one form or another, has been used for centuries by many different cultures. The first recorded use was in 479 BC, when a Ouija-like instrument was used in China to communicate with spirits of the dead.
How you doing,
The
Erod?
contemporary Ouija board hit the U.S. market in the mid-1890s.
Who's this, Marie
and
Curie?
was originally called a witch board.
That's
Imagine,
a
if you will,
Hasbro board,
that
though,
the
brother.
Ouija board is like a dimensional doorway. In using the board, you basically
Anna
open yourself
Foster.
up as a receiving station. You can get something positive, or
Okay.
you can get something extremely negative.
Some experts dispute its paranormal significance and suggest a more down-to-earth explanation.
Not all contacts on the Ouija board come from the spirit world. A lot of them are operated through the subconscious or unconscious minds of the operator or operators.
The Ouija board is a
Yeah, I'm doing
mechanical
good.
device which is used to facilitate automatism. And automatism is
Automatism?
where a part of the body or the mind does something that is unconscious. In utilizing a Ouija board, the planchette can be moved by changes in the muscular tension of the people who have their fingers on the planchette. And that muscular tension can be controlled
Muscular
by
tension?
one's subconscious or unconscious mind.
What?
Perhaps the most bizarre case involving the use of a Ouija board occurred 2 years ago in Augsburg, Germany. 6 U.S. Army enlisted personnel, analysts with high-level security clearances, claim messages from a Ouija board encouraged them to risk their careers and imprisonment to carry out the directions of the board.
What?
Only now have 2 members of the group agreed to come forward.
Basically went to the Ouija board out of frustration to find answers
my
about ourselves and
Lord.
other things.
Davis claims the Ouija
Harry
board's
Knowles?
responses were almost immediate and that they spelled out the details of impending worldwide disasters.
In a period of about 6 months, we
Annette
really only used
Levesque?
the board 7
Come on.
times.
The entities predicted to us the Gulf War in May of 1990, 3 months before it happened.
As we got more
Saddam.
involved with using the board, the information that we had received reached levels beyond our imagination.
All European countries,
Over
what?
a 6-month period, the group recorded predictions that foretold increasingly catastrophic events. They believed the Ouija board was also urging them to leave Germany and warn people about these disasters.
We were told
These are people who are trained to, like, you know, unleash devastation and take people out, and they're taking their orders from a Ouija board
by the spirits to leave. The phenomenal part of this whole situation is that we as a group
Look at
got
that hideous
together,
couch.
and in only 7 sessions,
The Ouija
we
board
had
should have
enough
told her not to buy that.
information that convinced us that we needed to leave.
On July 3rd, 1990, all 6 soldiers went AWOL. Their desertion triggered a worldwide manhunt, and law enforcement agencies around the world were told to treat the deserters as if they were terrorists.
In July of 1990, a group of soldiers stationed in
El
Germany
Salvador bound.
left their posts and came to see me in Gulf Breeze to discuss their paranormal experiences. I found that their experiences primarily had to do with the Ouija board.
Within days, the 6 soldiers were arrested
Let's get a
in
look at
Gulf
this
Breeze,
crew.
Florida, by local authorities working with the FBI and military police. They were charged with espionage and taken to Fort Knox, Kentucky for interrogation.
We considered ourselves dead, gone. We would not be seen again by our families, and they had the same feelings.
But that was not what happened.
No
After
batteries
the soldiers
necessary.
were interrogated, the case took a bizarre twist. In a break with standard procedure, the Army decided to release all 6 soldiers with honorable discharges. Was there a connection between the unprecedented discharges and the Ouija board's predictions?
Oh my God.
All of our predictions were documented. Military confiscated all of our written notes after we were captured.
Do people go to prison for going AWOL? Yeah, I mean, you can. Just depend. I think, anyway. Maybe not just, well, I don't know. Yeah, you go in like the brig or whatever, like military prison. But probably, like he said, you normally would for sure get dishonorably discharged at least.
2.5 years ago. So the government knows that our predictions are extremely accurate, but for them to admit that publicly, of course, is a different matter.
Look at that dossier.
The collective mind of these soldiers may have been operating, and not a spiritual one.
Honorable
Because I've never
discharge?
seen a spiritual being tell a group
Sounds like
of
a
people
Grace
to do
Thorpe
something
coat.
as drastic as that could get them locked up for the rest of their lives.
What power did the group really tap into? Was it their collective unconscious at work, or were otherworldly spirits using the soldiers as a conduit for their cataclysmic predictions?
What people tap into a lot of the times when they're experiencing a real negative phenomena with the board is what we call inferior spirits or low
How are you going to go into using a Ouija board with a positive mindset if all you know is suffering?
level intelligence. These are people, entities, animals who have not migrated to the next level of life.
Migrated.
When utilizing a Ouija board, it's very important to set an intention.
Prepare to
why
migrate,
you're doing
everybody.
it. So that if you're determined to create something that's very, very upsetting, it's very possible that your
Sean
subconscious
Randall.
will cooperate with you, and something like that would occur on
Now,
the
she
board.
seems pretty reasonable.
We were 6 people from different backgrounds and different beliefs that came together and experienced the same kind of phenomena.
Think it's
If I
disrespectful?
could make a difference in the world, and if me
But EFD, what if the Ouija board was telling you that you had to go AWOL? Whoops.
going AWOL and giving my life for that would make a difference, then to me
Look at
that's
this
a big
outfit.
sacrifice. And I was willing to sacrifice that. Also, I felt the information we were getting was important enough not to be hidden. If there's a possibility of it happening, people need to be told.
So far, the group's predictions have been startlingly accurate. If their accuracy continues into 1993, they could be tracking worldwide disaster.
The entities that spoke to us on the Ouija board predicted the LA riots 2 years before they happened.
Looting and rioting did occur in Los Angeles 2 years after the group's original prediction. And their predictions for the coming year?
Future predictions the entities made to us included a major earthquake in California in '93.
Listen, guys, within a 5-year period, there will be an earthquake. There will be a riot. I'm just get it on the predictions now. That's what the Ouija board said. I think you got to get it pretty accurate on stuff like that. That's likely to happen like multiple times, probably in a lifetime at least.
With a magnitude of approximately 8.3. A major earthquake in Seattle in '93, which will trigger the eruption of Mount Rainier.
I don't know what would happen if Savvy Guy was happy for 8 consecutive minutes. Oh, the towers! Look at them.
Also, the collapse of European royalty in '93. The forming of the United States of Europe.
Did you see the towers?
In '93.
Skeptics may deny the Ouija's power, but many still caution against its use.
I genuinely cannot recommend the use of the Ouija board. In my experience, there are too many negative experiences, and sometimes very serious negative experiences, recorded as a result of opening up areas of reality that the people are not ready to handle.
I think we're playing with something that we have no understanding about. These are very, very strange, unknown powers, and God knows what they're dealing with.
According to...
If you guys are old enough to remember, do you remember when that movie AI came out from Steven Spielberg, and there was like a big controversy because it was released a little bit after 9/11, and whether or not they should have the towers in the scenes in the future. You know what I mean? And there was like a big there was a big divide over it, whether or not they should like remove the towers from the footage.
Vance Davis, the group hopes that their Ouija predictions for the coming year don't come true.
Yeah, there's going to be war.
If they should come to pass, the group believes that it will signal
sometime in the next 4 years, there will be economic issues.
Years.
The Ouija board is eerily accurate.
Once the catastrophic chain of events begins, all 6 members say that they will go into hiding.
The Ghost Mafia.
And won't reemerge until the year 2000.
Coming up, this shadow cast on the lunar surface was captured on videotape by a Japanese astronomer. Some claim it's an alien space station. We investigate next.
On a recent Sightings episode, we brought you information about the possible destruction of a Soviet space probe called Phobos by
You think
UFO.
that's a false memory, King?
Now, for the first time on American
It's
television,
true, King.
startling footage obtained from our Russian sources.
We
showing
could be,
the
though,
unidentified-
we could be from different timelines. And then our timelines merged eventually. There is the theory people have that I was replaced after the break when I came back in HD, that I'm not the same, that I'm an AI, and that the real Mark Fusion is living in the Maldives.
Craft that may have destroyed Phobos. In 1989, the sudden disappearance of Phobos 2 had ominous overtones. Now, Russian officials close to the space program feel free to
All right,
offer
King,
their
let me
own
know.
theories about the satellite's demise.
We'll see which timeline we're on.
Phobos 2 was supposed to enter the Martian sky and descend to an altitude of 15 meters. Phobos 2 was sending back pictures, as usual, when suddenly the last picture from Phobos arrived. And that picture,
Oh,
you
wow,
could
she was a
see
test
Phobos,
pilot? That's
the
cool.
Martian moon, and an oblong-shaped object.
A long pink
the
object.
cast a passing shadow on Mars, and then Phobos 2 disappeared.
Scientists from around the world have studied the last photograph transmitted by Phobos 2. The oblong image shown here has been estimated to be at least 25 kilometers in length, nearly 13 miles
I don't know
long.
what the deal is with
Many
the
believe
echo.
that
I don't
Phobos
know.
2 photographed an immense alien craft. Now, nearly 4 years after the disappearance of Phobos 2, this footage, shot by a Japanese astronomer, may help explain the mystery. The footage shows a
Was
moving
not edited.
object casting a shadow on our own moon's lunar surface. It appears here on American television for the first time.
But was there a
We have
debate
not
over
rejected
it?
the possibility
Whether or not
that
to
a
edit it?
spacecraft took Phobos 2. There is footage of a craft of a great length that flew over the lunar surface at the speed of over 200 kilometers per second. Can you imagine that? A huge space station moving that fast? I believe this is an immense UFO mothership, which may have taken Phobos 2. It's frightening, in fact. The day before Phobos 2 was launched, the senior designer of the project received a phone call. A steely male voice said, "Don't launch Phobos 2, or it will be destroyed by a large saucer." We all got a cold chill from this warning.
Could there be an immense UFO traveling through our solar
That
system,
woman?
ready to destroy any and all satellites that get too close for comfort. It is indeed a very chilling thought. If you photographed or videotaped what you believe to be a UFO, or
Call
if you experienced
1-900.
any type of paranormal activity, our Sightings investigative team wants to know about it.
If you've had a paranormal experience, call our Sightings hotline at 1-900-740-SIGHT. That's 1-900-740-SITE. Each call 75 cents a minute. Average call lasts 2 minutes, and you must
Possessed
be 18
by the
years
voodoo
or older.
geese.
Again, the Sightings hotline is 1-900-740-7483.
Join us next time for new investigations into the unexplained.
Oh, did you find
For
some
Sightings,
interesting
I'm
stuff,
Tim
King?
White.
Spend Valentine's Day with the ones you love and catch special appearances by Martin Lawrence all night long.
Martin
Sunday
Lawrence.
on Fox. Now stay tuned.
I'm on a huge Martin Lawrence run right now. I may just run through his entire filmography.
Tuned for another episode of Sightings next.
Well, I'm meeting up with these witches fairly soon. They seem pretty open-minded. At the Rock and Jim show, when I did an IRL, I talked to him and like, I asked them how we could unbind Ben and Grace, and they told me like a free way to do it without having to buy like any of their specialty witch items or whatever. But then she gave me her contact information. I'm gonna see if they'll do a at least make a video, if not do a live stream of some kind of ritual. No, I didn't review Bad Boys yet.
Coming up.
I finished up House Party. Well, the first 4. There's 2 more, I guess.
The shocking investigation next.
Now we return to our special report on...
Oh, okay. This could be a big episode. Okay, cults, superhumans, mind control, and a Ghost Rider update. So I don't know, wait. I wanted an update on the Russian psychics. But I guess a writing update, Ghost Rider update's okay.
Herbal LeBaron, the man whom some believe demonstrates the power to give execution orders from beyond the grave.
Huh?
It's a sad fact that LeBaron's use of mind control is nothing new in the annals of crime. The history of mind control and its practitioners is a virtual who's who of maniacal leaders who have used their powers for evil ends.
Hold on, you like House Party 2? See, I didn't really like House Party 2. I thought it was too preachy. I thought it was like, I didn't think it was nearly as funny or like wacky. The third one I think is not very good at all, but Bernie Mac is so good in it that it makes it like, he carries it so hard. But I thought 2 was too serious.
It's been estimated that there are over 5,000 cults operating in the United States today. While their members
I mean, you never know where a cult
some
could
cults
pop
are
up
dangerous,
for real.
even deadly. For the first 30 years of her life, Peggy Hill claimed she was held captive by a
Peggy Hill.
mysterious force in her own family.
I was taught that I was a very powerful being, that I had to
Okay,
be very, very
okay,
careful
whatever.
because I could kill somebody
Simulation.
with my thoughts. That's a pretty heavy burden for a kid to live with, and that was from mind control.
You know what else, King? An issue I had with 2 is that I thought Queen Latifah was like so overbearing in that movie.
Through therapy, Peggy has recalled a frightening childhood where she was forced to participate in satanic rituals with other cult members.
It was being pulled out of bed in the middle of the night to go do a moon ceremony. It was being dropped off by my mother for a 48-hour ritual in a closed observatory with strangers.
Oh, yeah, I like those
Here
guys.
I am, I'm naked, and I'm a little kid.
Yeah, I've seen CB4. Not for a long time, though.
Experts estimate that some form of mind control
I'd have to
is
rewatch it to
influencing
review
as many
it.
as 20 million people in cults around the world. Just how do cult leaders gain control over their victims' minds? Is it only the weak who succumb? Or are all of us susceptible to the control of powerful cult leaders? And what is the source of a leader's power? Some insist it is
Oh, woke
supernatural
good.
in origin.
What? What's
Others
woke?
believe it is the result
I said it's too preachy. How's that a woke take?
of sleep deprivation, hypnosis, monotonous drills, and the practice of isolating the victim to gain control over the mind. Dr. Margaret Singer,
What
professor
is
of
this?
psychology
This is
at the
great
University
footage,
of
though.
California at Berkeley, has been researching brainwashing for the past 48 years and is one of the nation's
Look at
leading
what is
experts
happening
on mind
here.
control.
This is a great drug
We're
show.
all susceptible to getting recruited into a cult, to being exposed to a mind control program. Not everyone that's recruited
Look at that
into
cactus
a cult
lapel
or
pin.
exposed to a mind control program stays for very long. But we're all vulnerable. You don't have to argue people into
What a great
mind
cult.
control.
Wow, I can see why
Quite
people
the
are joining this
opposite.
cult.
You sweet talk them.
Great lighting,
and
guns,
deceptively
suits,
sweet talk them in
sunglasses.
to coming along with you to join your group.
The power of a cult leader can be so strong that certain members will do just about anything, including murder, for the person they believe is more important and powerful than a god.
Methadone would definitely become
I
a cult member.
testified in one trial where a cult leader had carried out her orders.
Spun him around in an office
and,
chair.
quote, making the child submit, making the child surrender, and they had beaten the child for 2.5 hours.
I feel like this lady could
and
still
the child died.
drain some balls.
And the parents who did it were, when I interviewed them, remorseful and knew that for all time.
Wasn't there remember the guinea pig movies? Wasn't there a guinea pig movie where a guy was being tortured and they kept spinning him around and kept spinning him in his office chair?
They had to live with that.
In 1967, at the age of 19, Dennis Ehrlich joined a very well-funded, well-known cult. He escaped with his family after 15 grueling years, but not before he had risen to the very upper echelon of power within the cult.
I walked in, you know, sort of a confused young man, but very nice, you know what I mean? A person who wouldn't harm a...
So anyway, I was part of the super exclusive, secret, awesome cult, and I rose to power, of course, immediately. But then I was like, this isn't for me, and I left, and they were like, totally cool. Just, you know, if you want to reveal our secrets on television, go ahead and do it. There'll be no repercussions. Cults don't do that kind of stuff.
Fly. I've been hit and haven't hit back many times in my life, and I came out of there just a vicious, you know, who was used to
Yeah, Bernie
shoving
Mac
people
was
around and
amazing
getting
in 3. Like,
compliance,
holy
you
shit.
understand what I mean?
The dinner
making
scene,
things happen,
just
making
perfection.
it go right, and not caring what I had to do it. So I had.
I got to record my review for that.
Within the organization.
Oh, I like that
would
shot.
liken my position to the quality control officer in a brainwashing factory. Yeah, I'm the guy who makes sure all the brainwashing is standard. The worst of it is the kidnappings that occur, the brutal mental treatment of people in dark corners of their building where they're pounded by 5 or 6 people to confess certain crimes, the kind of mental punishment that breaks a person because he has nowhere to go.
Punishing episode
objected,
mentally.
He himself was severely punished.
I was locked under guard in a sub-basement of the Fort Harrison Hotel in Clearwater, Florida. For 10
he makes
days,
that one guy
a
so
place
mad he
where
starts
somebody
firing
like
the gun
Jeffrey
at the dinner
Dahmer
table.
would bring their victims to do their thing to them. A scary place to be locked or under guard.
Dennis finally had the courage to take his family and walk away from the cult he had given his life savings to.
Is it?
Cult he had called home.
Okay, is it a cult if you can just be like, hey, listen, I'm out. And they're like, totally cool, totally cool. To me, that's not a cult. If you can walk out at any time, I don't really view that as a cult. Is that a crazy take?
For 15 years.
I could not have pulled myself from the orbit that I was in and pulled my family from that orbit. Were it not for
the 20 is it the 20th anniversary of Brokeback Mountain? No, but this is the 30th anniversary of Showgirls coming up, and I am going to do a pop-up art installation for the anniversary for sure. I remember like vividly the day it came out and going to see it, and the Catholics were out protesting it. It was like one of the coolest like movie experiences of my life to have to like walk through the protesters to get into the movie. It was great. It was like you just knew it was just going to be this just completely fucked up movie.
something in me that says you cannot
Leave
put your
Brokey.
children through what you're willing to go through.
Dennis credits the counseling he received from the Cult Awareness Network with saving his life and the lives of his family. One of the network's directors is Patricia Ryan.
My father, Congressman Leo Ryan, was
Oh my God,
assassinated by
Showgirls to
Jim
me
Jones's
is
People's
like
Temple
Citizen Kane. I think it's
members
an
in
amazing movie.
1978 in Johnstown, Guyana. That's the incident that most people associate with the dangers of cults. But it wasn't until 4 or 5 years later that I got involved with the Cult Awareness Network, and that was really as a result of my sisters joining a cult shortly after my father's murder.
Since
But you
then,
could
Patricia
leave
Ryan has
that
devoted
cult.
her life to helping
You
victims of the
could,
People's
in
Temple
theory.
and other dangerous cults overcome the lasting effects of mind control.
It's amazing what people will do in order to get somebody else's approval. And if you're not a real strong person and you're not real aware of what's happening to you, that's the first step to a long line of things that you never in a million years would have believed that you would have been capable of.
I have been through hell with this. I just want to warn people away from it. Stay away.
When I went to see it too, it was at a, okay, like there was like a, it's like a strip mall. And then when you go into like with big anchor stores on each end, and then in the middle, it was kind of like a big galleria. And if you went all the way to the back of the galleria through like all the cool 80s and 90s stores and shit, you'd get to the back. And in the very back, there was just this like multiplex movie theater. It was so cool. And that's where I saw Showgirls. I know for sure I saw Showgirls there and From Dusk Till Dawn. I can't remember 100% anything else I saw there, but I distinctly remember those two movies.
From it, I wasted 25 years of my life, 15 years in and 10 more years to recover from this. And I just have to start all over like a new person.
We have to, as a society, remain aware that the cult
Showgirls, what a
phenomenon
movie.
is still with us and is ever present and is a danger always.
Awareness is just the first step to eliminating murderous cults until we find a way to neutralize.
I can look into it, but I don't think I can actually access it. That strip mall is basically dead now. I think it's all pretty much taken over by either storage units or, I don't know, like U-Haul maybe, or maybe U-Haul has storage units. I don't know if I can physically go to the, like, inside where the theater used to be, or I don't even know what the inside of the building is like anymore.
As the influence of cult leaders, they will continue to be a danger.
Believe me, if I started murdering people.
Don't forget, we know somebody who has it, not a swastika, thankfully, but an X on her head.
There'd be none of you left.
Joining us now is Dick Forbes, Assistant Chief Investigator for the Salt Lake County Attorney's Office.
Dick
Lieutenant
Forbes.
Forbes has been investigating the LeBaron cult for the past 18 years. Lieutenant Forbes, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Ervil LeBaron exercised mind control over his followers, and he had...
Could always break in. I'm saying, like, I don't even know. Since it's not like it was very rarely ever empty. I don't know, like, maybe if they've gutted it. I can just go in and ask them. I like to just cold walk in and harass people, so that'll be fine.
Specific technique.
It was really cool, though. Like, there was an Aladdin's Castle arcade. There was, like, a little shop where you could buy different models and stuff. And I remember they had, like, the import Transformers, like, glue together models and stuff like that. And there was, like, a Hallmark store. It was, like, a really neat place. And then, like, way back in the back was, like, this little awesome little theater.
What were they?
Basically, the way he controlled people, Tim, was first of all, he was a very powerful communicator. He had influence over people. He was a good salesman. He would separate people from society once he had convinced them that he was right, and that way the only input that they had was from the cult and from him rather than from the outside. He would then create paranoia within those individuals' minds, making them believe there were enemies out there that wanted to get them, and that he was their only protector. He would then infect them with his own teachings and beliefs, making them believe that he had supernatural powers, if you will, or that he spoke directly to God, and that what he...
Can you even, like, go to Walmart anymore and get those, like, car kits that you put together with glue? You know what I mean? I remember back in the day, like, every retail store's, like, toy section had, like, a huge section with, like, all the different cars and trucks and, like, you know, different shit you could build.
Told them was absolutely right.
Ervil LeBaron was not the only cult leader to claim that his powers were supernatural. Have you seen this evidence in other
natural
contemporary cult leaders?
Yes, I have. In the studies that I've made of several groups, I think Jimmy Jones exhibited that, and you can see
Jimmy
where he
Jones?
took those people.
What a
He
time to
separated
give a
them,
nickname.
down in Ghana. And Charles Manson, he took his group to the Spawn Ranch.
Is the LeBaron cult finished now?
I think it's effectively neutralized at the moment. There are two individuals that are still fugitives, Aaron LeBaron and Tarsa LeBaron, who we believe probably are in Mexico.
Okay, look, Aaron LeBaron. This is the simulation fucking with us, guys. Aaron LeBaron. They want us to think every other fucking name they've put out so far, and they want us to believe that Aaron LeBaron is real. Come on.
Who are dangerous, in my opinion, and can still wield influence over other members of the family, but I think, as I mentioned before, they're probably effectively neutralized.
Hey, Mindful
right now.
Exposures, the
Hopefully we'll
Rolls
be able
Royce
to apprehend and
cult.
prosecute those other two, which I think will certainly slow it down.
Lieutenant Dick Forbes, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Tim.
And we'll be right back with more sightings in just a moment.
When we return,
Are there spirits here?
have we discovered the secret of the Polaroid Ghostwriter? A special update next.
Oh man, I can't wait. I'm so jazzed
Recently,
for
we
that.
brought you a special report about the appearance of so-called ghost writing on Polaroid instant film. Well, since then, we have continued to search for answers to what might be causing the
I
phenomenon.
can't wait.
One plausible explanation has come from Michael Weber, a professional magician who agreed to try to duplicate the ghost writing under our own controlled conditions. During our initial investigations, dozens of pictures were taken that showed some kind of anomalous or ghost writing, and we were unable to find any evidence of a hoax. Enter professional magician Michael Weber, who claimed he could duplicate the ghost writing under close scrutiny.
Man, my anxiety
I
is through
invited
the
him to
roof
our
over this
controlled
one.
Studio. Michael was given one of the cameras from the ghostwriter house and a pack of factory-sealed Polaroid instant film. He was not allowed to examine or handle the camera or the film prior to this moment.
You can ask the question either before or after I take the
I'm
photograph.
going to ask the question before.
Okay.
Are there spirits here?
Is that the Wild Country, Doc? I'll have to check that out. I feel like I started it, but I didn't finish it.
All right, I'm going to turn it to the camera. Okay, it's
Oh
coming
my
up now,
God.
and it says, "We are here."
I can produce identical, if not very
Magic
similar results
inventor.
by completely natural scientific means. And all that does is put everybody back at square one, where either possibility, the possibility of spirit manifestations or the possibility of some other means, are on equal playing ground.
Although Michael Weber produced his own ghostwriting, he does not rule out the possibility that the phenomenon could have a supernatural origin. Our investigation continues.
If you've had a paranormal experience, call our Sightings hotline at 1-900-740-SIGHT. Each call 75 cents a minute, average.
Did we see Superhumans? Oh, that's the... Okay, never mind.
Each call lasts 2 minutes and you must be 18 years or older. Again, the Sightings hotline is 1-900-740-7483.
Join us next time for new investigations into the unexplained. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
Sunday, Married with Children's Christina Applegate and David Faustino host Fox's Slam Dunk comedy lineup, starting with a special
This is
movie
some Joe
presentation
LaDuke
of Don't
shit
Tell
right
Mom
here.
the Babysitter's Dead. Then, after an all-new Married with Children, Rodney Dangerfield guest stars in an all-new and living color at a special later time. Now, stay tuned for more Sightings.
That was a cool image. You can, I mean, to me, the machine gun and then the backlit with the white suit and the slick back hair, sunglasses. It's good. As above, so below. I think I remember that one.
Controversial subjects.
Then like the French
theories
catacombs
expressed are
or
not
something.
the only possible interpretation.
I don't think
The
I,
viewer is
I've seen
invited
it, but
to
I
make a judgment
remember it.
based on all available information.
The Fonz.
Tonight on Sightings.
As a group, we were abducted about 60 times.
Frightening first-hand stories of mass abductions by extraterrestrials. What are their sinister motives?
They do need our...
Hang on. So the episodes here are mass abductions, seizure alert dogs, that's interesting, and prophecies. And of course, this has been labeled with a I don't know if you, I'm not saying fact check, but you know what I mean, a little warning label about alien abduction for some reason.
Genes to propagate their own species.
Then, dogs that possess amazing psychic abilities of predicting epileptic seizures. Their life-saving secrets tonight.
We need a dog that can predict incoming struggle sessions.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. The number of people who report being abducted by aliens is growing at an alarming rate. According to a recent Roper poll, 1 in every 50 Americans claims a UFO abduction experience. Well, now those individuals are being joined by groups of people who claim they've been abducted together. These mass abductions are challenging skeptics who believe the abduction phenomenon
cool
is
alien
all a
face.
hoax.
In the course of 4 years, as a group, we were abducted about 60 times or so.
That guy looks like he belongs in an episode of Kitchen Nightmares as the restaurant owner who's promising that he's making authentic Italian food, but it's all like frozen.
In my experience, I believe that mass abductions are occurring far more than people realize.
A whole room full
Oh
of people
no, not the
were
RV.
simultaneously
Ben was
taken
abducted
and
out of his
simultaneously
RV.
in the craft, put together with one another.
James LaFonte and a group of his close friends claim to be victims of a
James
mass
La what?
abduction. Their abduction histories all began
James
in childhood.
Ever since I was a child, I used to wake up and I used to see white light and shadowy figures moving
James
around my
LaFonte.
bed, and I would get scared.
When I was younger, I remember like an alien looking through the windows.
Sleep paralysis?
Being watched, a feeling of being watched all the time.
When I was a little kid, I guess I can call them as like the shadow people, because they used to come out of the shadows, and like the shadows would
Oh
kinda
boy,
come
look at
alive
this
and
guy.
they'd be these little
He
small
definitely
guys.
listens to The Cure.
In his mid-20s, LaFonte felt strangely compelled to
Oh,
seek
man,
out certain
OG
people
IRL.
and befriend them. As these home videos show, the group often went camping in upstate New York.
Incredible.
We would go up each weekend to upstate in Saugerties, and we were just going up for fun, but as it turns out, week by week, we were all being abducted as a group.
And looking back at it now, I realized that I had knew all these people from childhood abductions, and that I was supposed to get everybody together.
Man, that
and go
chick
up to
really
the trailer
had a big old
to be abducted.
Noted
cloud. Did you see
ufologist
that?
Bud Hopkins met with LaFonte and used hypnosis to help him recall abduction memories.
It's like on a table.
They got big eyes, man.
The skin looks molded.
Moldy skin.
I gotta get out of here.
James LaFonte contacted me in 1990 because of certain fragmented memories. He'd been with a group of friends, and they knew something had happened. There was a time lapse. And subsequently, they began to have partial recollections of this experience. And part of those recollections involved having been in a craft, unable to move, being controlled, and being placed, some of them with others, in some kind of sexual situation.
I first met James in '87, and a few friends of us, we all went upstate
What a
to
calm
the
lady.
trailer. Just have a nice weekend and enjoy ourselves and have fun.
We had a typical hanging out, everybody getting close together, talking, doing a little music together. And then the next morning, everybody recalled something happened.
Going up weekly almost became an addiction. It was for enjoyment, but it was almost like we were being called back.
More members of the group agreed to participate in regression therapy. Under hypnosis, they recalled being
This
part
is
of a mass
awesome.
abduction.
Old school
One time
RV
in the trailer,
IRL.
It was around 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. And I remember seeing these bright lights almost in every window. And there's domes
Chicks
on
were
top of the
much
trailer.
more open in
And,
the 90s
Everything was blowing. And you just become basically paralyzed.
to that type of
During the
procedure.
abduction, we would walk down this dark, dark road in a trance state.
Mostly everybody was like semi-conscious. I would see us, like all of us, walking down the road in our night garments. And sometimes the aliens would walk us there, and sometimes we would be walking on our own. And we'd be walking to the craft, which was always in the same spot in this pit area.
We would just walk into the ship. We would see the ship in the pit. James would be the last one to go inside the ship.
When the nightmarish memories persisted, LaFonte and others in his group sought help from clinical psychologist Dr.
Oh my
John
gosh.
Bowman.
Generally, when I work with people using their imagination...
Did you guys see that Mary Lou Retton got arrested for DUI? We got to get her on intoxicated female.
Generated from a part of themselves. These abductees and their reports do not have this kind of personalized stamp, and I think it makes it even more credible.
Once this group is on the ship, they do remember being abducted together. They do see each other physically being examined by their abductors.
James and Kurt saw me on the ship with them and a few other people.
I love the I'm really big fan of well, I like the one Body Count album. It's the only one I've heard.
Start doing some of the medical experiments.
One with their famous
and sometimes
song.
there would be 2 or 3 of us in the same room.
If something was being worked on my genitals, I would see James across the room, and the same thing being done to him. I do know sperm was removed.
I've experienced certain things like that. I was with an alien.
We were talking about that earlier, F. Wood. The idea that, like, it's hard to view them as lying because they really do believe it. One of the experts was talking about that earlier.
That wasn't totally at will. It's hard to explain, I mean, first, it looks like a person, and then it becomes an alien while the process is going on.
Rows and rows of naked people, aliens standing, motioning them here and there, directing them through some kind of processing.
When I was on the ship, I remember seeing James and Petra, and then I remember being with the other people from the group.
There's a very great interest on the part of the UFO occupants in human reproduction, sperm, ova, the DNA, but it has also included an interest in human sexuality itself.
I do know that they do need our genes to...
They want to watch people fuck.
Propagate their own species.
It's not uncommon to hear in mass abduction cases that individuals, members of the group,
what an
are
episode
forced to have
this
sex
is.
amongst
Wow.
themselves or with the aliens.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes
Okay.
we'd be abducted and there would be sexual situations that would pair off, some of us within our group and some of us with other groups of people. It was just like a random thing. Each week, maybe it would be a different person.
It could be other people's wives, other people's husbands.
What a great
different
show,
friends that they were
great
with,
episode.
And just experiencing different sexual situations with them.
Hell
It's
yeah.
a recurring theme that we hear from a lot of abductees, especially in mass abduction situations.
What's up, Randy?
They're studying us, they're studying our sexuality, our emotions, and they're using us for some design goal as the center of this experiment.
This is across all cultural, socioeconomic levels. This is extraordinarily widespread. It is global in nature. And it is probably the most central hidden mental health issue in the country today.
In working with abductees, James's group, as well as other abductees, my experience is that
He looks like a
these
corrupt
people have
cop.
been traumatized by a very real and present experience in their lives. Their psychological profiles indicate
In DP,
that this was a real
is Grace an
traumatic
alien?
experience. It wasn't made up, it wasn't imagined, and that something actually did occur to traumatize these people.
I lost plenty of jobs, I lost friends, I lost family, I
What?
lost a number of things. And it got to the point where I would, I
Baba
was
Booey.
contemplating suicide in a sense because there was no escape.
I believe the abductions are exploitive of mankind and
Well, take it.
not
Well,
beneficial
speak
to
for
these
yourself,
individuals.
big
If
homie.
the abductions were beneficial,
I think it
they
sounds
wouldn't be
great.
suffering as they are.
It's
They're
not
blowing
something
weed
that
smoke all
we
over
come out
these
and tell you
people while they're
because we want to
fucking,
be on
dude.
television.
Beam me up, man.
A lot of people think that, that we get more ridicule from it. It's a joke.
There is undoubtedly an extraordinary phenomenon at work here. It is irresponsible to dismiss it. An extraordinary phenomenon such as this demands an extraordinary investigation.
We're a good group. Our friendship is strong. I just hope that we'll understand what's going on at some time, and that we will understand why it's being done to us, and that in the long run that it's all for a good cause.
Joining us now is one of the foremost authorities on the alien abduction phenomenon, Temple University professor David Jacobs. Dr. Jacobs is the author of Secret Life. First,
They were all on shrooms and they thought it was aliens, but it was that was watching them, but it was just Ed Powers filming for the Dirty Debutantes series.
hand accounts of UFO abductions and has been a UFO researcher for 25 years.
Oh, thank you, King.
Dr. Jacobs, for years and years, you have studied the abduction phenomenon.
I want to say that he has talked about it, but I can't remember. But yeah, thank you, King. You can, if you haven't seen him, there's a bunch of weird ass members videos to watch. Oh, thank you, King. King's laying it down today. Just, oh, Moon's in. I remember them.
The idea of multiple abductions, is this something new?
No, multiple abductions have been around since the very beginning.
But yeah, I want to say that Ben has talked about aliens. I don't know. I always remember his 9/11 story. So I'm sure I always ask a bunch of stuff like that. I'm sure I've asked him, or I've heard somebody else ask him, but I can't. My mind is just completely. All I can think about is his 9/11 story.
In fact, the very first abduction that came to public attention, the Barney and Betty Hill case, was a multiple abduction.
Benny Hill
what we see
case.
Every once in a while is large-scale abductions of 6, 7, 8 people, even more sometimes.
Is it true that people only recall their abduction experience, multiple or otherwise, under hypnosis, and therefore they might be influenced by their therapist?
Most of the accounts are recalled under hypnosis. However, a significant number of them are remembered just straight out without any aid of hypnosis at all. However, we found that handled carefully and with proper knowledge of the phenomenon, hypnosis is an important tool that we use to sort of release the memories that are there.
Well, on that front, I can't get too deep into it right now, but that's why the Bethadone collab is going to be in like a month and a half. My schedule is going to change. I don't know 100% for sure. The main issue would be what time I start. It could get bumped to like an hour later, but I don't know for sure. But I'll have like, it should open up like I can do longer streams, or I can do like 2 streams about of this length, like of 2 different things. You know what I mean? But that's a ways off and not like 100%. So I don't want to say yet.
You are a respected university professor, and for most people, this is just beyond the pale. Why are you involved in this?
The Hurricane Paro promo. He sent that to me on Discord, and then I just recorded I was like, hey, can I put up that message you sent me as a promo? And he was like, oh yeah, of course, man. So I put myself at the beginning and end of it.
Well, you're right, Tim. This is absolutely as far out as one can get in this society. Yet I feel that this is, even though that this is on the edges of credibility, that we must study this, that this is potentially extremely
edges of credibility,
and potentially impactful on all people, and therefore we can't ignore it.
Does it seem that some individuals are targeted for abduction and others are not? And is there any way to know if you are?
Well, people who have had abduction experiences generally have them from childhood on, all the way through old age, and we don't know how it stops. Most people who are abductees know that there's been a series of unusual experiences that have happened to them in their lifetime. They don't know what's happened to them necessarily, but they know something has been going on that other people don't have.
No,
and,
she's got a new vacuum
cleaner. Most of those
cleaner.
kinds of people, we feel, have had abduction experiences, or at least many of those people have had abduction experiences.
Have you been abducted?
Edge of credibility is such a fun way.
About the abduction phenomenon.
You're essentially telling the person, like, you're full of shit, but I'm going to phrase it in a way that makes it seem like I'm open-minded about it.
I have no desire to be abducted.
Dr. Jacobs, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
And we will be back with more sightings in just a moment.
When we return, dogs that possess amazing psychic abilities of predicting epileptic seizures. What is the secret of their life-saving powers? Their story coming up next.
One of the last great frontiers left to explore is the human mind. With all of the advances in modern medicine, we still know surprisingly little about the potential of the brain. One way scientists are trying to learn more is by studying our pets. Animals appear to have certain psychic powers that no one can fully explain. Pets could be helping here, helping people with epilepsy. It's a condition characterized by frightening, uncontrollable seizures. In the Dark Ages, epilepsy was thought to be the work of the devil. Today, we've abandoned those outdated ideas that people with epilepsy are under satanic influence. But there are genuine mysteries associated with epilepsy. And
yeah, I've seen a lot of videos of of dogs doing like really intuitive things related to healthcare.
Medical experts are turning to dogs
Not like
for
surgery.
some amazing new ways of understanding this misunderstood neurological condition.
My mind went immediately to like a little chihuahua up on a like ladder, step ladder doing surgery.
Angie Barnum knows the incredible supernatural power of a seizure alert dog firsthand. For the last 10 years, Angie's dog Sheba has been warning her of potentially life-threatening seizures before they happen.
She paces and whines and jumps on me if I'm not
Look at
paying
this.
attention.
Is this
She's
okay? Is she on the set? Is she on the same set of Stuart Smalley?
constant. She always
Air
knows.
Dr.
Angie's
Dog.
seizures were so unpredictable, she was confined to a wheelchair. In 1983, she sought out a program that was matching dogs with disabled owners. At first, Angie was attracted to a Labrador, but Sheba proved she could do more than just fetch.
Angie went into a seizure, and the yellow lab just ignored her.
Sue Miller.
Sheba
What a
keyed into
what a
it.
90s
Completely
character this
ignored
is.
me. She went straight to Angie, and we stood around in fascination watching this dog fixated on this girl.
Angie adopted Sheba, and the two became inseparable. Angie discovered that Sheba's special gift wasn't just an isolated event.
I was out playing with my friends.
What a
and
scene
she
this
started
is.
pacing and whining, and I thought she was just acting up. And I went home, and a few minutes later, I had a seizure. Come here, Sheeps.
Sheba was so accurate in predicting seizures in advance that Angie gained enough confidence to leave her wheelchair behind and compete in gymnastics with Sheba at her side.
Huh? That's
She
a
lets me
big
know
swing.
before I have
Wow.
a seizure, so I can get down off the equipment. With her, I can know I'm gonna have one, and I can get down before I hurt myself.
It's such a
In
positive
1987,
backdrop.
Angie won a gold medal in the Special Olympics, and she gives a lot of the credit to Sheba's extraordinary ability. But Sheba is not unique, according to Rina Berner of the Epilepsy Institute.
We had people calling
That guy
up all
from
the
George
time
Dorinda
saying,
painted that
I know
sign.
you're going to think I'm nuts because they didn't know who they were talking to.
Nah,
but
she
this
looks
is
like
what
a
my dog does.
terrible
One of those
stand-up
reluctant
comedian.
callers was veterinarian Liz Rudy, who has had seizures for 10 years. Liz noticed that before her seizures, her dog Ribbon would stare and lick her hands.
I didn't really tell anybody or talk about it because it seemed too strange to be believable.
But Ribbon alerted consistently for 9 years. Before Ribbon died, Liz got a new puppy named Raisin.
I got her to see whether she could pick up this behavior from Ribbon. I didn't think it was something that was real likely, but I thought it would be interesting to see if one dog could do it.
Raisin turned out to have the same uncanny ability.
Bob Simpson.
Early on, she saved Liz from a potentially fatal situation, alerting her to an oncoming seizure while Liz was in the shower. While we were recording
Rest in
this
peace,
story,
Ribbon.
Sightings crew members noticed Raisin was paying particular attention to Liz.
Dude, and shout out to Ribbon for passing on the knowledge to Raisin about how to protect the seizures.
Then it started. First, the intense stare. Then Ribbon tried to get Liz's attention. And finally, the barking started. Liz's seizures aren't violent. Instead, she seems to slip away from the world around her. Ribbon instinctively stays
Sounds
by her
like me
side,
from
protecting her for the
8:15 to
duration of the
11:30.
episode. Does Ribbon have a unique ability to detect seizures? Or is Liz somehow giving off subtle clues about her condition?
You think it's an
When you have a
inside job,
phenomenon
King?
like this, and you want to do a scientific investigation, the first thing to
Douglas
try to determine
LaBarre.
is whether, in fact, the phenomena is bona fide or not.
Neurologist Dr. Douglas LaBarre assists the Epilepsy Institute in their study of dogs like Ribbon. Liz is a participant in this research. Here, she's hooked up to a brainwave monitor that can detect the onset of a seizure. The Institute is also compiling statistics based on a survey sent out to pet owners who do have seizures. A substantial portion are reporting some type of alerting behavior.
Look at all this
Some
privileged
experts
information
speculate that
on
the dogs
camera.
are detecting seizures through their acute sense of smell or by their acute awareness of certain
Prune
body
and
movements in
date.
their owners. But then why is it that only certain dogs seem to have the ability to detect seizures? Animal behaviorist Peter Borschel is studying the phenomenon.
If we can learn what the dogs are capable of doing, how they can pick.
Have you, JF, have you ever like tried to replicate a Ruby stream?
Pick up the pre-seizure signals. Then we can have a way of screening dogs, trying to find out if there's a...
One thing Ruby is good at is knowing where to set her phone to do like her lewd dance moves or whatever. She's drink her coffee or whatever. Ruby's great about finding a great, first time quick like place to set her phone and get like the perfect shot.
Breed difference.
But the walking to
Picking
get
dogs
there
that are
is
good
pretty
at it
bumpy.
versus those that aren't.
Come on, where's Jessie?
10-year-old Jessica Lindgren has up to 5 seizures each week. Her mother, Leslie, is working with their
The
dog,
dog
Trina,
killed this kid.
training her to help Jessica during her seizures.
I think it's wonderfully important that the researchers and the neurologists can open their minds to
Leslie
something
Lindgren.
beyond just the medication.
Okay, that seems
just
that's
the office
okay.
visits, just the tests.
Seems
I think It's
real.
great.
Jessica doesn't need science to explain why her dog is special.
I go like this, and then Trina licks my face like this. And then that's her way of saying, it's okay, Jessica.
Is there a paranormal
In those moments, yeah, when she sets her phone down, walking around though, like it's obviously like, you know,
connection between some
which I don't
dogs
mind
and
it.
their
I think it's
owners with
Ruby's
epilepsy?
style, so.
Medical doctors would say no, but they're still at a loss to explain why. It is a mystery that science can't explain, but researchers continue to study the phenomenon, working toward a more complete understanding of the strange and wonderful connection
No problem,
between people
locale
and
rejects.
animals. One of the tragedies experienced by people with epilepsy is isolation from a general public that fears the onset of a seizure. One of the greatest benefits of seizure alert dogs like Sheba and Raisin is their ability to
I want to see George Durunda do a segment on psychic dogs.
bring their owners out into the community where they can hold jobs and enjoy life with a new confidence.
When we return, the terrorist attack on New York's World Trade Center was predicted by a Sightings astrologer. Will there be other attacks on U.S. cities?
That's obviously that they're talking about the first terrorist attack on the bomb that went off, but didn't, you know what I mean? Like just the bombing.
A special report next.
At the beginning of 19...
Dude, Rico is not going to help anybody with anything, man. He's like he's a chill dog. He's not going to help anybody.
1993, we asked a panel of experts in astrology and psychic phenomena to make their predictions for the coming year. One of our experts, astrologer Richard Nolly, has been remarkably accurate so far. He predicted the terrorist bombing at the World Trade Center in New York. Prediction became reality on February 26, 1993. In an interview taped in November 1992, Richard Nolly predicted a terrorist attack in February.
It's going to be more a terrorist kind of situation.
He's now
but
in
it's going to
Guantanamo
go
Bay.
beyond the terrorism that we've seen in the past. I think people who live in major cities in the United States, in Japan, and in Europe are going to be targets for this kind of activity, especially around approximately February 2 and also in August and early October of 1993.
The February prediction, although off by a few weeks, did have an eerie...
I got like a 7-day ban on Twitch for showing or for watching the Abu Ghraib documentary about the guards and shit at that place.
ring of truth. We went to Nolly's home in Phoenix to get his
Speaking
reaction.
of Guantanamo, which has nothing to do with this show.
The alignment of the planets Uranus and Neptune was the big cosmic clue to me. Also, given the current tensions in the Middle East, I'd expected that
It's
this
also
would
like a
manifest
symbol
as
of
a terrorist
capitalism,
attack
you know what I
directed
mean?
against the
To
United
a
States.
lot of
There are currently 2 suspects
a lot of people
in
view it
custody,
that or
but
viewed it
Nolly
that way.
believes they are just the tip of the iceberg.
There's no doubt in my mind
like a
that
symbol of
Baghdad was
America.
behind it, specifically Saddam Hussein. The planet Mars, which was rising in the east when the bomb went off at the Trade Center, was directly overhead Baghdad at that very instant. I'm sure we're in danger of more terrorist attacks. The same alignment that was in effect in February,
Saddam
will be exact
Hussein
again in August and in
and
October.
Mars.
So we haven't seen the last of it by any means. The target areas, as I see it, pretty much in descending order, would be New York was number 1 on my list from the start. It's already been hit. It may be hit again. Washington, D.C. would be 2nd. Los Angeles would be 3rd. Atlanta would be 4th. And Chicago would be the 5th. 1993 is going to be the year of terrorism in the United States, and after that it's going to fade away.
The prospect of further terrorist attacks is a frightening possibility predicted by Nolly. What other disasters lie ahead? Sightings viewers have requested more information about what to expect later in the year. We are currently in the midst of a new investigation on modern-day prophets.
Hey,
like
we
Gordon
saw that
Michael
tree in a
Scallion,
previous
who have disturbing visions of the future.
I can tell you that the Earth is going to open up in California, and I can tell you exactly where it will open up.
What is the basis for these dire predictions? We'll bring you the disturbing answers in an upcoming report. If you've experienced what you believe to be a ghost, or if you've had any type of paranormal encounter, our Sightings investigative team wants to know about it.
If you've had a paranormal experience,
they need to let me host the new Sightings. We could have, we could interview Beth about her demonic language that she speaks. The Thorpes could talk about their, how they're reincarnated from Abel and Joan of Arc.
or captured something unexplainable on film or videotape, call our Sightings hotline at 1-900-740-SIGHT. Each call 75 cents a minute. Average call lasts 2 minutes, and you must be 18 years or older.
Join us next time for new investigations into the unexplained. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
Stay tuned for another episode of Sightings.
It's that crazy RV sex
leads
party.
Cops into a darkened crack house. What they find there will shock you. Experience a full hour of Cops, followed by an all-new Code 3 tomorrow.
Cops enter a crack house and can't believe what they find. What happens next may shock you.
The following program deals with controversial subjects. The theories expressed are not the...
Okay. So this is going to be a good episode. I can almost guarantee it, okay? It covers the fire in this. I'm assuming it says fire in the sky. I'm hoping it will be covering the Travis case. There's a UFO in Scranton, which is where The Office was based. But here we go. Ghost molester. Now, which way does the molesting go? That's what I'm curious to find out.
Only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information. Tonight on Sightings.
What happened in this house is an absolute nightmare.
A family that claims it's being sexually molested by a sinister entity.
It was trying to rape me.
And a special investigation of a Pennsylvania town haunted by frightening close encounters with UFOs.
All of a sudden, these objects started coming up out of the treetops.
This episode is going to be lit. Ghost molester. Scranton UFO. Fire in the sky.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. Thanks to you, we've received many home videos showing what may be the brief appearance of UFOs. But one of the problems we face is that it's very difficult to analyze a one-time event. Ufologists are looking for UFOs that appear again and again and offer a chance for closer examination. Just such a series of UFO encounters is occurring in the skies.
I feel like this episode
above
looks really good.
Pennsylvania.
Like the
A local
quality is
resident
really
sent
good.
us his startling footage. The first reported sighting occurred in 1991 in Newton Township, just north of Scranton. Since then, dozens of people, including state and local police, have witnessed an unexplained show of lights. The first home video was shot by Gary Steyer. He started monitoring the skies after his daughter, Christy, reported a bizarre encounter with a UFO.
I at first thought it was another car, but I looked out towards the back of me and I noticed there was no car in back of me. And I was adjusting the mirror and I noticed an object in the sky. It was flying behind my car and I kept watching it in my rearview mirror. And eventually it went over to where I could see it looking out the window. It kept following me driving down the road. And then I made a right-hand turn to come up onto the road coming up towards my house. And this object made a right-hand turn. And by this point, I was getting really
I
scared.
hate when bad stuff happens to hot chicks.
She drove into the driveway and ran up
to the front door, came flying in the house, and said something was following her. And then when she told me it was above her car, I didn't know what she was talking about.
Since Christie had been the only one to experience the light phenomenon, the Steyers thought it must have been an isolated event. But a few months later, the lights returned, and this time the extraterrestrial display was witnessed by more than just one person. While driving home on January 8th, Gary and his wife Nadia saw unusual lights hovering in the distance near their house. They rushed home, and Gary got out his video camera. This time, he was able to get the UFO on tape.
It was a feeling of great excitement because these things were happening right before your eyes. You didn't know really what these lights were, what was happening. It was like an adventure.
He looks like he owns an owl.
Being a respected school teacher, Gary Steyer was hesitant to call the authorities, fearing public ridicule. But when the lights continued hovering for several hours, he finally decided to alert the police.
911 emergency. You want to report what?
And within a matter of minutes, Officer Callie arrived along with 3 state policemen. And as I taped, they stood alongside of me with their handheld radios in my front yard.
The dispatcher told me he received a call from a resident in the community that there was a strange object
Tony
in the air
Callie Jr.
above his house.
When he initially called me, he didn't want to give me anything but his street address. He didn't want to give me his full name or phone number because he didn't want to be associated with something that sounded this bizarre.
I didn't believe it initially when I received the call that there would be anything of substance that I would see. Immediately upon exiting my police vehicle, I looked up in the...
Speaking of school teachers, Haley Starr has started a new series of videos that go like deep dive into her lore. And I think there's only one installment so far, but she also linked her that she's doing content, other types of content as well.
In the air, and I saw 4 or 5 bright objects up in the air.
There's one right alongside of it.
He's not very believable
Officer
as
Callie
like
called into his
veteran
dispatcher
cop, in
and
my
asked
opinion.
him to check with the local airport tower to see if they were picking up anything on radar.
Lights. All right, well, let me look. It was one of those real crystal clear nights. There wasn't a cloud in the sky.
William
We
Wallach.
looked out the window over towards where he was talking about, and sure enough, there were some lights out there.
According to local sources, there were no commercial or military aircraft in the area that night, and nothing was picked up on radar. But despite this, half a dozen witnesses reported seeing a UFO.
They had no aircraft in the area of the Triple Towers, and that no airplanes were supposed to be in that area, and nothing was picked up on radar.
I assume so, yeah. I didn't verify.
I thought that there was possibly a problem with the radar system. Shortly thereafter, he contacted me back.
This is
and
Adrian
said
Brody.
He checked it again, and there's
Method
nothing out there.
acting.
The lights appear to be most active over this area, Bald Mountain. Pam Zakowski is a local newspaper reporter who first broke the UFO story. She was an impartial observer until she hiked to the top of Bald Mountain with UFO investigator Irene McDonald. Near the summit, the 2 women had a terrifying encounter.
We were merely poking around, actually
Pam
trying to see
Zakowski.
where Gary Steyer's house was from the top of the mountain.
He's a crisis actor.
When 2 men in a pickup truck drove up the access road, and they both got out, and one was older and one was younger.
They both had guns, and they were incredibly angry.
Irene McDonald.
They said, "You're trespassing, you know you're trespassing, what are you doing up here?"
I said we were just taking a walk in the winter. I wasn't going to say we were up there looking for evidence of UFOs.
When I saw their intense anger and their guns, I knew that in 30 seconds or a minute, I either
Guy's
would
got
be
the
alive or I
worst
wouldn't.
USA flag patch on his hat ever.
We agreed to leave, but we had only been up there probably maybe 5 minutes at the most. And what's unusual is the fact that almost everybody at one time or another in this area has climbed that mountain for
DP.
exercise or recreation and never have been threatened with a gun.
Pam Zakowski never saw the 2 men again and believes they were not local. She ran a search on their license plate number, but that has only deepened the mystery. The plate number does not exist in any Pennsylvania motor vehicle record.
Interesting.
The identity of the two men is still
Shawn
unknown.
Michaels.
Could their
Harrison
appearance be
Ford.
somehow related to the unexplained lights in the area? After the incident on Bald Mountain, the UFO activity has only
Bigfoot. What's up,
increased,
Tom Space?
and more witnesses have come forward.
It was just about dusk, and as we were there up by the power lines, all of a sudden, these objects started coming up out of the treetops.
They were just everywhere, seemed wherever we turned.
Not this guy, but the last guy, the guy that looks like he owns an owl. I feel like he's the kind of guy who would like make a big deal about wanting you to try some like, you know, rare wine or something, but then he would like stare at you the whole time while you're drinking it. You know what I mean? Like he'd be like, wouldn't give you any room to like enjoy it.
There was another one. I just remembered not hearing a sound.
But not everyone in the area
And God forbid if
believes
you
the lights
disagree
are
with him about it.
UFOs.
I mean,
Karen and
forget
Bob
about it.
Siemens own the airport in Factoryville, about 10 miles south of Bald Mountain. They believe people are simply sighting their newly installed beacon.
I think because we had put a new beacon up,
Karen and
people in the
Robert
area were not
Seaman.
used to seeing the light.
Okay.
I really think it's just too much of a coincidence.
Investigating the Siemens theory further, we took Gary Steyer's footage and overlaid footage of the airport beacon taken from the same angle.
Okay, whatever.
Using a grid system, it appears impossible for the beacon and the lights to be one and the same. We also took
I'm not
going to
give the simulation the
After careful analysis,
what it
Senor
wants
has
and
concluded
react
that
to
the
that
lights are
comment.
not conventional aircraft, nor are they a hoax, and they're definitely not emanating from the beacon.
My impression of this tape is that it certainly wasn't
Oh, this
fake.
guy's back.
Here, all of
Jeff
the unusual
Sanyo.
lights are moving laterally. And so an airport beacon light doesn't move laterally. So that couldn't explain any of the 5 interesting points that I found on this tape.
See, I got
As if in
upset, and now
response
they're
to
placating me
increased
by
interest in the
bringing
lights,
back
the
a
UFO
character
activity
that I
has
like.
subsided in recent months. But the people of Newton Township keep their eyes and camcorders pointed to the sky.
I'm watching
anticipating the
by
return of what some
candlelight.
believe is an alien spacecraft.
What a goon that
All
woman
I
was.
know is
Go to
that
bed,
we
Ethel.
taped some unusual lights and objects in the sky. The night of January 8th did happen, and I wasn't the only person that saw these things. There were hundreds of other people who had similar experiences, but they didn't have video cameras in their hands. And all I can say about the tape is that it speaks for itself.
Right now, the skies near Scranton are quiet. However, local residents say that the UFOs come in cycles. They're anticipating a new wave of
I know what
UFO
I saw.
encounters in coming months. Local police are ready to respond to any UFO calls that come in and are continuing to investigate reports of the mysterious men who have yet to be identified.
Coming up next,
What happened in this house is an absolute nightmare.
a
Oh,
family
boy.
that's under attack by a sinister
Ghost
entity.
molestation time.
Researchers who investigate sightings of ghosts and apparitions often find that the site of the haunting has a mysterious, sometimes brutal past. When one of our viewers called to report bizarre ghost activity in her house, our first step was to look into the history of the house, and we did find that it had been a place of misery and torment.
Man.
The evil began in 1984 in a small town in central Maryland. It's the kind of town that seems to promise the American dream. But 2 brothers were living a nightmare in one house in this quiet
Why
town.
weren't they haunting
For a
you?
long time, it was their
That might not
secret.
work out the way
But
you
the day
think.
the boys, age 4 and 6, told their mother, she told the police.
What happened in this house to those 2 children is an absolute nightmare.
The children were raped and molested repeatedly.
They weren't safe.
Now, come on.
Because
Okay, based on this story, are they trying to tell us when they're... Because, I mean, am I wrong? He's presenting this as fact. It sounds like he's presenting it as fact. Is this the findings of, like, the local... what do you call it? Like, Children and Family Services or whatever? DCFS? It's so weird that they're reporting this like it's fact.
the danger that lived within, and that danger lied in their own father.
He was convicted of sexual child abuse, but the boys insisted they were not the only victims. They described the brutal rape and murder of an infant.
I don't think it's far-fetched to believe that a baby could be stabbed repeatedly, dismembered, and then decapitated,
and then literally tossed into a creek. And of course, that's what we believe happened in this particular circumstance.
The police found no proof of murder. The father served just 18 months in prison.
Okay, what? Hold on. There's so much. They're dropping so much information here. So the dad was eventually arrested for the crimes committed by the ghost. Hold on. I got to take it back. This is my brain's having a hard time processing this. What's the murder story?
But the boys insisted they were not the only victims. They described the brutal rape and murder of an infant.
I don't think it's far-fetched to believe that a baby could be.
Okay, so the kids said that the ghost had killed a kid, but the police found no evidence of that going on except from this guy.
Stabbed repeatedly, dismembered, and then decapitated, and then literally tossed into a creek. And of course, that's what we believe happened in this particular.
Who believes that? The police found no evidence of it. What is this guy talking about?
Circumstance.
The police found no proof of murder. The father served just 18 months in prison. The house, with its monstrous memory.
Okay, so if the father served 18 months in prison, where's the rest of the information at? Doesn't that kind of wrap the storyline up? You know what I mean? Like, if the dad went to jail, what else would he have gone to jail for? Or am I like not? Am I missing something in the story?
Was sold to another family. Just 6 weeks after moving in, the new owner died suddenly, leaving his wife and 3 daughters alone in a house they now believe is haunted by an entity they call the Beast.
This beast
smoking,
molested, raped.
Yeah,
choked,
this is, and it was like
he's touched, he's punched, he's scratched.
And from what I can gather, again, the murder thing was completely made up, and then that cop went into such like intense detail about it, as if it were like a fact. Like, what the hell? What's going on here?
And I just feel like it's getting stronger.
The first time something had happened to me, I was laying in my bed and I woke up.
Okay, so who's in this house? It's just the mom and the daughters? No stepdad?
For no reason. And I heard this breathing and I could feel it in my ear. It was like,
what a crazy story.
In a real deep voice, he was like, make love to me. It was pinching my breast very hard, and it just squeezed me on my behind. It was like I was being sexually assaulted by it. Like it was taking itself and entering into my body.
The family fled the house and called Sightings for help.
Oh,
they sent this video.
What? Okay. So your daughter is physically and sexually assaulted, and you go to a psychic for help. Like, what?
A record of the night the so-called beast scratched the 13-year-old daughter.
First it scratched me on this side of my face, and it hurts too bad. Then it scratched me on this side of my face, and it actually broke the skin down here, and it was bleeding. And I was just crying, hysterical, and it was saying, your family can pay its respects now because you're mine. And it was saying, you can run, but you can't hide.
The family refused to return to the house alone. Sightings agreed to send a team of ghost experts from the Office of Scientific Investigation and Research.
When we go into a home to investigate, we look at, first and foremost, the environmental factors.
I actually wrote a screenplay that's kind of like, has a kind of a similar theme of the idea of like a house or like a ghost entity being like just a complete asshole that wants to like torment the people inside, as opposed to like just scare them or whatever.
Factors that are contributing to the situation. We look at the physiological elements, and we look at the psychological elements of all those in the family.
Specialists descended on the house, armed with technology. Their aim was to electronically document any appearance by the supposed beast.
We call it a beast because of the size of it. I remember
Paula.
I looked up and I could see it, and it was just huge. I was not imagining it. I was not sleeping. It was very, very real to me. And then I felt the tongue. There was a very pointed tongue. The thing pushed me back on the bed. And when it did, I felt this extreme weight on me. It started screaming at me, very raspy, very deep voice, and it was like, whoa, 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 and it just kept doing it and doing it. And of course, at this point, I'm screaming.
I was laying in the bed next to her.
This is
and
not what I thought this
her
segment was going to
body,
be.
It was like her heels were on the bed and her head and shoulders were on the bed, but the rest of her body was arched up like a bridge.
I know without a doubt that it was trying to have sex with me, and it was trying to rape me, and I was just powerless. There was just nothing
What's
I
up,
could
Get
do.
Crack?
It is
Mike
terrifying.
Chuddy versus a
It's
goblin.
not something to sit around the kitchen table and say, oh, haha, the ghost was calling my name last night, or the ghost wanted to have sex with me last night. Isn't that funny? It's not funny at all.
Because of the women's terror, we had a security firm install 24-hour surveillance cameras throughout the house.
Oh my God, this is so
Investigative
wild.
devices were also put in place for the night-long vigil. The team prepared to monitor the environment, radioactivity, changes in light and electromagnetism, and the temperature, sound frequencies, and gravitational forces within the house. The neighborhood was also scoured for evidence
These
of
look like
unusual
the people
levels of
from,
pollution or energy from power lines.
What's that
Something
movie
to
series? It's got the
scientifically
two guys
explain
in the
phenomenon
suits that go with
plagues
the
this family.
old lady.
I seen a tall man, very skinny, long arms. It was just like a flash of lightning. It was so fast, and it was at the end of the bed, and that just startled me. Just like did a belly flop right on me. And I was like stuck in this position, and I couldn't move, and I was like, Mom, Mom, but I could not get my voice out. I was like, Mom, Mom. It was like pins and needles, but it was coming from the inside out instead of the outside, and it came off me, and I just
Monitoring
felt
the
like my whole body
gravity.
just lifted right off the bed, and I fell down.
Look,
It was very frightening.
if I'm being raped by a ghost, just me personally, I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna call a psychic, like, or bring in people to measure the gravity in the room. What's the thought process here?
The first night back in the house, the family crowded into one bedroom and refused to turn out the light.
Okay, let's lay down. Good night.
Good night. Everyone say their prayers.
They tossed and turned, 5 in one bed, 4 other bedrooms empty.
Your feet are freezing.
Would you shut up? This is the most aggravating time. Let's rest.
The ghost is causing
After
them to
midnight,
bicker
one
amongst
daughter
each other.
came into the living room for a cigarette.
It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. And this usually seems to be the time when it'll start building up. And you'll start hearing sounds in the house if anything's gonna happen. And by 3 is usually when it gets to the peak. If everybody's sleeping and the house is quiet, that's when it seems like it's the strongest. I feel like it's here, and I wish if it was, it would just show itself or do something.
The night passed without incident. Day 2 brought more tests.
They were
Psychiatrist Elizabeth
scared, so they all
Tarr
slept
worked
in the
with
same bed.
It feels like your heart is beating like very hard against your chest. I feel like I can't breathe.
Listen, one of my favorite movies of all time, the plot of it is that at an isolated farmhouse, a woman masturbates and has an orgasm so strong that it summons the spirit of an ancient samurai. So there is some precedent for this type of thing as far as low budget shot on video films.
Breathe. I felt like I was dying.
Technician John Pori conducted physiological tests. The family
Dude,
agreed to
that
sleep that
Beowulf
night with the
CGI
lights
movie
out,
is epic.
heads wired to measure sleep patterns and dreams. Our camera was equipped with a night lens to photograph the house in darkness. Christopher Chacon monitored the sensing equipment. This was one night the women wanted something to happen, but again, the house was silent.
Everything that we saw in the house on Voodoo Road and everything that's been told to us by the family members
Yeah,
could
that's
be
a great
rationally
movie.
explained in one way or
I showed
another
that one
according
at
to the laws of
a,
nature
for,
and
at a
physics.
free
I still
public
feel
screening.
as strongly as we did in the first interview that those
Blood
things
beats.
happen in reality.
Blood
They actually
beats.
did happen, and they happened the way that I explained them.
It's the eternal question for paranormal investigators. If nothing happens, is it all a hoax? Or is the terror the family calls the beast lurking in the background, waiting for the investigators to leave before it will return.
I still feel there's a lot of evil in this house. I think that it's the devil personally.
They're like, listen, we could leave these cameras with you and pretty much guarantee that this will never happen again since the ghost won't do anything on camera, but we got to take this equipment back with us. We're taking it over to that guy with the big broom mustache.
And I don't think it's finished.
The inability to catch
it
a
is.
ghost
It also
on tape
has like
has proven to be the ultimate frustration for
magic
investigators
duels.
like Christopher Chacon.
It's pretty
They continue
sleazy.
to work on new, less obtrusive methods of studying ghosts and haunting phenomenon.
Blood
Until
beats.
then, the only proof we have that ghosts and poltergeists exist rests with eyewitness testimony.
Coming up next, meet the real-life victim of the alien abduction
Here we
behind
go.
the upcoming movie Fire in the
What
Sky.
a great episode! Wow.
Bulging heads.
Except for that weird
huge
cop.
eyes.
He really ruined the vibe.
In 1975, Travis Walton, a logger from Snowflake, Arizona, disappeared without a trace.
Here's how that segment should have gone, in my opinion, is that cop should have said, this is what the children claimed. However, their father was actually arrested for the charges and served 18 months. And they also claimed that there was a murder victim, but the police found no evidence of it. Like, that should have been all they said about it, in my opinion.
Trace. 5 friends who were with Walton when he vanished swore that he'd been abducted by an alien spacecraft. Each witness passed a lie detector test telling the same story. The reported abduction is one of the most well-documented claims of an alien encounter.
Don't forget, Grace once masturbated in the middle of a stream to try to force an end to Ben's debate with Elder Drazi.
On record. Travis Walton's alleged abduction from an Arizona logging camp is now a motion picture titled Fire in the Sky. The dramatic details of Walton's story are unnatural for adaptation to the big screen. But ufologists believe that Walton's experience is more than just a story. They believe it is a true account of alien abduction.
We have a saying here, once a contactee or once a
Tina
witness,
Chode.
it's always so, because it's an event that you will never forget.
Are aliens with sinister
Good Travis.
motives
Well, oh, look at this. This is how I
abducting
feel.
humans for
This is
bizarre
what this is how I want to
experimentation?
feel right there.
Travis Walton believes that's what happened to him.
Is that Tim Allen?
Sightings took an emotionally scarred Walton and eyewitness Mike Rogers.
Oh, yeah,
back to
great
the site
movie.
of the alleged abduction 17 years before.
As we're coming up this road here, we could kind of see a light filtering through the trees. My first reflex was that this thing was just going to take right off, you know, that we were just going to get a glimpse of this thing. So just as soon as it stopped, I threw open the door and I started running towards it. And then I realized, you know, this ain't going anywhere. I started to think twice about what I was doing, and as I got closer, I kind of got slower and slower.
I turned back around like this, and I could see Walton. He's flying backwards through the air. And when he hit the ground, when I saw that happen, everything was just too much, and I hit the gas.
Charles
and we were
Bronson.
gone.
When I regained consciousness,
Man, Charles Bronson and
I was
Tim
in a lot
Allen.
of
What a
pain.
movie that would have been.
I saw these creatures. They were small, humanoid looking, you know, like they had 2 arms and 2 legs and 2 eyes, but they had these
Then
big,
she
bulging
brought Ben
heads
a piece of cake or
and
something, I
huge
think,
eyes.
after she finished.
Those eyes were the hardest thing for me. You know, I couldn't look at them. It seemed like they were looking right through me.
Screenwriter Tracy Torme has spent 8 years bringing this abduction story to the screen. He is convinced that Travis Walton and his fellow loggers are telling the truth.
I suddenly
I'll be
came
right
to
back.
realize that this incident was a curse to them. It was something that had happened to them rather than some kind of happy, you know, close encounter type of experience.
No,
Since
she didn't.
Travis Walton's experience, hundreds of others have come forward to tell similar stories. They share with Walton the nagging fear that someday the aliens will come back for them.
The question has come on, do we think Travis will have a second encounter? We have no way of predicting that. We don't consider this case closed. It's still open.
The investigations you've seen tonight were all the result of phone calls received from viewers like you. If you've recorded or experienced what you believe to be paranormal phenomena, our Sightings investigative team wants to know.
If you've had a paranormal experience, call our Sightings hotline at 1-900-740-SIGHT. Each call 75 cents a minute. Average call lasts 2 minutes, and you must be 18 years or older.
Join us next time for new investigations into the unexplained. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
Stay tuned for another episode of Sightings. Tomorrow, after a full hour of cops, meet the most dangerous mobster in America on an all-new America's Most Wanted special. And Sunday, the incomparable Dame Edna dishes the dirt with guest stars Roseanne and Tom Arnold and Luke Perry on Edna Time, Sunday at 10, 9 Central.
The following program deals with controversial subjects. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information. Tonight on Sightings, is the planet Earth on a countdown to doomsday?
The loss of life will be staggering.
We uncover the startling evidence. Then, a Russian fighter pilot who survived a frightening close encounter with a UFO. And our psychic makes contact with a sinister ghost molester.
It is still attracted to the younger girls.
No, I don't think Bronson ever did a comedy. Sorry, I forgot to open that off mic. Oh, hold on.
Welcome.
Okay. Another great episode. Listen to this lineup. Countdown to Doomsday, Russian Top Gun, and Ghost Molester Update.
To Sightings, I'm Tim White. Since our last report on predictions and prophecies, the response from our viewers has been
I love the Death
overwhelming.
Wish movies. I just
There appears to
reviewed
be
all
an
those.
inexhaustible fascination with the future. Well, now, with the approach of not only a new century, but a new millennium, the number of people making long-range predictions is growing. Some of these modern-day prophets are obviously more reputable than others. But might one of them be the new Nostradamus? In the 15th century, Michel Nostradamus believed he saw the future. Interpreters of his work say he predicted major 20th century events, such as the rise of Nazi Germany, the atomic bomb, and great natural disasters. But are there prophets among us now who have the ability to see the distant future, as well as events that are only weeks and months away?
We are going to lose a lot of lives. We're going to lose them through earthquakes, from volcanoes, from disease.
Civilization is going to collapse, and we are going to see earth changes in the very near future.
Russian Top Gun.
Like our ancestors said, the world will capsize and you will be destroyed.
Gordon Michael Scallion and Richard Kinninger are contemporary prophets. Time may prove them to be heirs to Nostradamus.
Okay, I just want to point this out. This guy's name is Dick Kittinger. Dick Kittinger.
Thomas's power of prophecy. Deep in the woods of rural New
May
Hampshire,
peace prevail
electrical
on earth.
engineer
True.
Gordon Michael Scallion claims he's been having disturbing visions since
Mike
1979.
Scallion.
According to Scallion, the Earth is about to go through massive changes that will drastically alter the surface of the planet. And, he warns, time is running out.
The spring of '93 would be remembered in the future as when it all began, and life changed as we know it. In 1998, perhaps sooner, the United States will look much different than today. 25% of its landmass will have gone underwater. We see Denver being a seaport. Portions of Louisiana goes underwater. The Great Lakes change underwater. Michigan becomes islands.
Scallion claims to receive his visions while in a trance-like state, assisted by his wife, Cynthia
Great
Keyes.
camera angle.
He believes he can then communicate directly with the Earth. Scallion has a high rate of
Awkward.
accuracy, predicting the devastating Hurricane Andrew that hit South Florida and the earth-shaking 7.6 Landers quake in California last summer. What's next? Scallion predicts the entire planet will be plagued by a series of catastrophes, beginning in California.
The next event that California will experience will be a quake that will be greater than 8. It will
Projected new
create
coastlines.
flooding. The bridges and highways, especially the bridges that cross other bridges, will come down. It is now, in my opinion, 95% probability that it will occur between March and May 9th.
Scallion believes this unprecedented quake and its crippling effect on California
What's up, ICL?
will be just the precursor of greater disasters to come.
I believe a quake in the magnitude greater than 10 will divide California north to south and literally create islands. The loss of life will be staggering.
Oh, since ICL is like who I talked to VP about, before I forget. So VP's channels, I don't know whether they were taken down. I kind of fell out for a few days watching the Jedi nonstop, but her channels are gone, but now she's back on a new channel. It's at VP Always Wins.
We don't think that the largest.
I'm sure ICL knows that, but for anybody else.
9.5, and that's anywhere in the world.
Dr. Kate Hutton is a seismologist at the California Institute of Technology, the world's leading repository of earthquake data.
We've had several of those this century already. We had the 1960 Chile earthquake, 9.5, and the Alaskan earthquake in '64, 9.2. Neither of those destroyed civilization.
Despite scientific skepticism,
it's like saying there's going to be a plane crash. Like,
will change
so what? Like, what big deal? What does that mean?
Activity. Author Richard Kinnicker believes that a rare planetary alignment on May 5th.
Very soon. It's going to happen very soon. That's a completely subjective time frame.
Everything will be changed everywhere. But that doesn't mean that all species will be wiped out or mankind will be wiped out. It just will be brought back again to basics. And probably many parts of the world will experience a Stone Age for maybe a generation or two.
In 1973, Kinniger founded the community of Stell, Illinois, where he gathered like-minded individuals who would prepare for the coming Earth changes in an
Bring back the scallion.
Future.
The idea is really to be as self-sufficient as we can, because there'll be times where the grids will be down and we won't be able to access power from the grid. Stell is trying to survive by the use of common sense, logic, and
Egon Spangler.
Although Kinniger is no longer associated with Stell,
Dick kidding
he has
her.
formed a new community in Texas. It's called Adelphi and is home to more than 100 people who help in the construction and maintenance of the town.
Suckers.
There are also plans to start a third community, named Philadelphia, on an island in the Pacific Ocean. There, his followers believe they can start a new cradle of civilization, if they can survive.
The survival is best guaranteed by getting off the surface of the Earth for 3 days or so, by using the lighter-than-aircraft of special design. There are many people in Stell and Adelphi who are planning to contribute towards the construction of such aircraft in order to get off the surface.
Is there a scientific basis for any of these catastrophe prophecies?
What the
We're
fuck,
looking
man?
at what has been happening over the last 5 million years, and
Can you?
it would be.
Can you imagine telling people that, being like, "Hey, listen, everybody, we just made up shit," but you're like, "We all have to get into a lighter than aircraft for a period of 3 days. That's the only way we can survive."
Very surprising for us to have it change suddenly now. I guess things do change over the history of the Earth, but I don't think it changes that suddenly.
Dr. Hutton and most other Earth scientists believe in what is known as uniformitarian geology. That's the geology most of us were taught in school, that suggests Earth changes occur gradually over millions of years.
Man, that was a great story with all the ghouls and the one smooth skin guy.
Earth changes and geological change can happen very rapidly. And
I don't know,
suddenly,
ATF
mountain
media.
ranges and other Earth changes happen not over millions of years, but over in period of days or hours. The evidence for ancient catastrophes
David
and
H.
cataclysms
Childless.
is overwhelming to us. For instance, it is a known archaeological fact that there are more than 200 sunken cities in the Mediterranean
I like his
alone.
Marty McFly vest.
Although conventional science discounts these prophecies, it is hard to ignore the accuracy of Gordon Michael Scallion, or the sincerity of those who have formed communities based on the beliefs of Richard Kinniger. Do they know something we have yet to find out? And should we pay attention to these prophecies? Perhaps the answer lies in ancient Zuni wisdom.
He's never going to give up. Oh boy, here we go.
The ancestors said, if you don't love each other and behave in a good manner, it may rain hot water. The stars may fall, towns will be destroyed, and the end will be near.
Joining us now is clinical psychologist Dr. Terrence Sandbeck, who specializes in the
Terrence
relationship
Sandbeck?
between psychology and the paranormal.
What?
Dr. Sandbeck, if there's a prediction,
A Stargate
of doom
fantasy?
and disaster,
That's
is there
what
any
it
evidence
seems.
that people
It's like
change their lifestyle?
it does just seem like they have these kind of, I guess, if it's just your hobby or whatever, but presenting it as science is kind of weird. But it seems like most of them are having fun.
Change their behavior because of it.
Well, I think for the most part, probably most people don't change their lifestyle. But there are always the few who take
Dr.
it seriously
Terrence
and have to
Sandbag.
make some drastic change in what they do because someone has made some wild prediction.
Why is it that people seem to be drawn to prophecies of doom and gloom more so than the upbeat and positive stories?
It just seems to be the fact that that's what draws people attention. Maybe it's the same reason we will follow a fire engine to a fire rather than a limousine to a wedding.
We're coming up on the year 2000. Do you expect there to be an increasing number of prophecies?
Of course. Probably more than we had in the year 200 and more than we had in the year 20. Be lots of prophecies. They'll have no more validity. They'll have no more realism than any prophecies given at any other time.
Dr. Sandbeck, thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure.
And we will be back with more sightings in just a moment.
When we return, a Russian Top Gun fighter pilot who survived a frightening close
Russian
encounter
Top
with
Gun.
a UFO tells his story in a Sightings exclusive. Coming up next.
For years, ufologists have been collecting reports from pilots in the military who claim to have had contact with UFOs. Unfortunately, these reports remain unconfirmed because the pilots are reluctant to come forward. But now, one former military pilot is talking. In Russia, Maxim Cherbakov was so convinced he'd been fired on by an alien spacecraft.
Existential
he went
dread.
to
It can
court
be
to prove
a
2
positive
years
sometimes,
ago,
I think.
A pilot in Russia came forward and told of a frightening UFO encounter. Risking ridicule, Maxim Cherbakov was determined to tell what he maintains is the true story of his bizarre experience. At 19, Cherbakov was one of the rising stars in the Soviet Military Flight Academy and became the Russian equivalent of a Top Gun. His flying record was impeccable until August 1991. Then, on 2 separate occasions, he had strange mechanical malfunctions in his jet aircraft. On one occasion, he was forced to eject. An investigation of that incident concluded that Cherbakov had acted calmly and rationally. But 12 days later, a 3rd incident would change.
I don't know how Vegan and I would get along. I did, though, when I posted my first clip from her new channel, she did react to it within 31 seconds, which I thought was pretty cool.
Cherbakov's life forever.
Break VP alert.
20th August, 2nd shift. I made 2 flights with my commander, and 3rd flight I made on my own. I gained an altitude of 3,900 meters.
Maxim Cherbakov.
Then suddenly, I saw a ball in front of me, about 20 degrees to the right.
He watched the object for several seconds. Then, as it came toward him, Cherbakov tried to radio the base. The light from the UFO was blinding.
A sense of unexplainable fear came over me. On the back of my head, I began experiencing warmth. I felt as if someone was present and watching me. My movements were under control, controlled by someone other than me.
Cherbakov claims the reddish-yellow object started maneuvering around the aircraft. For several minutes, it kept up with the jet's
I'm not a
airspeed
mod,
and
though, in
mimicked
the new
its movements.
channel.
During that time,
I don't have a wrench
Cherbakov
anymore.
was unable to communicate with his base commander. The radio emitted only a squealing sound.
Pilot Cherbakov's description of the UFO moving relative to his own airplane is really quite common.
Dr. Richard Haynes has documented
Dr.
over
Richard Haynes and his
3,000
colleague,
pilot
Fred
sightings of
Fruit of the
UFOs.
Looms.
I have thousands and thousands of cases of pilots in daylight encounters with structured objects in the sense of having 3-dimensional mass, in the sense of having aerodynamic kinds of flight behavior relative to the aircraft.
And so what he describes here fits in very nicely to what I have from hundreds of other pilots around the world.
Suddenly, in rapid-fire succession, the generator in Cherbakov's jet failed. The instruments indicated a fire on board, and the cockpit filled with smoke. The base commander ordered Cherbakov to eject.
I began arguing with the commander because the plane was still above the residential area. My altitude began to drop rapidly. I had to pull the plane out of a nosedive. At the altitude of 1,000 meters, I finally cleared the residential area and I ejected. 4 seconds later, the plane exploded.
Cherbakov landed safely in a field and was rescued an hour later by a military helicopter. While officials combed the wreckage of the jet, Cherbakov was examined at a military hospital. An intensive 3-day interrogation followed.
The interrogation was conducted with a sense of total distrust toward me. Right from the start, they told me that the first, the second, and now the third incident is all your own doing.
Cherbakov was also interrogated by the KGB, who did not believe his story and charged him with insubordination and sabotage under the International Terrorism Act. Cherbakov claims the KGB threatened that if he did not tell the truth, he would be brought to trial.
Yeah, I get along with VP, fine.
And shot by a firing squad. Vladimir Azhaja heads the Russian Center for the Study of UFOs, housed in the Ministry of the Interior in Moscow. Dr. Azhaja is considered one of the world's foremost experts on UFO
the Russian
phenomena
Maverick and Goose,
studied
Hammer and
Cherbakov's
Sickle.
case.
We concluded that Maxim has a normal, healthy
Hello.
psyche and is not
Named
inclined to
Vladimir
fantasy.
Azhaja.
Major General Albert
Tell me, do you have a
Stubblebine
real
was the former
Azhaja
commander
or a
of US
neo
Army
Azhaja?
intelligence. He witnessed and documented a hypnosis session conducted with Cherbakov by an American psychiatrist.
As she was taking him into the trance, he
Albert
changed from
Stubblebine
this
III. Okay,
terrorized,
fine.
fear-ridden kid into a pilot, sitting in the cockpit, sitting in the seat, sitting with the controls, relating what was going on. There was a change in the individual.
Anybody can fabricate. The question
Rima
is, was he
Labo.
fabricating? He struck me as a person who, in that situation, was not fabricating. Whatever it was that he was saying, he truly believed had happened to him. Maxime
I
really
give up on these
believed he
names.
had not done anything wrong. In fact, had done the right
Raina
thing.
Lanebo.
And desperately wanted this sorted out.
Although affidavits to that effect were presented at his court-martial hearing, the court still blamed Cherbakov for the destruction of his aircraft. But the military prosecutor admits that some of the evidence of Cherbakov's innocence was very convincing.
From the beginning, I had doubts about the truthfulness of Cherbakov's statement. But after questioning
What
his
a
mother,
TV show.
his comrades, and his superiors, I became convinced that Cherbakov had an encounter with a UFO.
Oh boy, VP and Bethadone.
In January 1992, the case against Maxim Cherbakov was dropped. But despite this vindication, he was not welcomed back into the military.
VP would be pretty easy because she would probably be fine with like just being left alone or like parallel activities. I feel like Grace would probably be the same way, but I think Bethadone needs more direct interaction.
It's not training for pilots to deal with such encounters. The older pilots told me that a lot of encounters happen, but they don't speak about it.
There was a pizza, we used to have, well, you guys have probably maybe heard of Godfather's Pizza. We had a Godfather's Pizza for a while that was in a building. And then after that, I know how that sounds, but after they like went out of business, the next business to move into the old pizza place was a place that did hypnosis and massage therapy.
About them. I feel that I'm missing something from my soul that
I don't know for
want
sure,
very
south to
much.
west.
My love for the planes and flying has remained and will continue to remain.
I watch
Maxim
VP when I'm like
Cherbakov's
super
seen
high,
a
and
UFO.
I just don't really
We may never
retain
know the answer,
much of it.
But one thing is clear. Maxim
It's just
Cherbakov
very
ejected
soothing for me.
only after he saw that his jet would avoid populated areas below. There is now a movement underway in Russia to award Cherbakov with a medal for heroism. According to UFO researcher Richard Haynes, up to 15%
So
of all
what
pilots, both
happened?
military and commercial, have reported some kind of contact with a UFO. Haynes believes the actual number could be quite a bit higher.
Yeah,
since
that's true.
countless pilots are understandably reluctant to come
There's
forward.
a wide gap
When we
between
return,
Godfathers.
It is still attracted to the younger girls.
Oh, hold on a second. How come every time we have a ghost that's doing naughty things to people, this Albert Einstein guy always shows up?
Sinister ghost molester.
Be gone now!
On a recent edition of Sightings, we sent our investigative team to Maryland to help a family plagued by what they believed was a ghost. Although no apparition showed itself to our team,
They have a
the family
Godfather's Pizza
continued to be
here.
concerned about what they call
Maybe
the
I'll do
beast.
I can make a video
So
for
paranormal
it.
investigator Peter James
I
has
can do a
agreed to
members
work with the
only
family
taste
on a
Godfather's
psychic level.
taste test sometime.
During our initial investigation, the family revealed they were being assaulted by an entity in their house. In the weeks since our team left the site, the ghostly activity has continued unabated.
There's been a very active period since they've been gone. They've been gone a couple of weeks, and the scratching has started again. My youngest daughter's been scratched really badly.
After seeing a Sightings episode featuring psychic Peter James, the family thought they'd finally found someone who could help.
Best
We
one in the
just felt
state.
like that's the guy that we need. Somebody who can come in here, identify what it is.
This one, I think it's not in the. It's not where I. It's like a couple towns over, I think. But it's. I think it's in like a. It's set up inside of a gas station. But I've had it, and it's. I mean, it tastes like old school '80s, '90s Godfathers to me.
And deal with it and send it on its way.
After a brief walk through the house, Peter James felt he was dealing with more than one entity.
I would say there are about 6 ghosts in this house, 6 entities. I feel we have a forceful entity who is the mainstay, who is the ringleader, so to speak. It wants to gain more control. It wants to maintain control. And my being a fighter of sorts with this sort of activity, I feel that I'll clean house.
Peter then conducted a more thorough inspection of the site to identify paranormal hotspots.
Hello? 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 I'm getting a
Hello?
name that I believe dwells in this area, or certainly within this structure, and I get a name of Philip.
He's like
I
the
also
Geraldo
receive a
Rivera
name
of
Patrick.
ghost rapists.
I am rather saddened by the vibrations that are here.
They don't
I feel
accept
a lot
cards or
of
checks.
sadness
Damn.
tonight, but this is truly one of the hearts of the house.
The family confirmed that the laundry room and
Man,
the
I really
basement
want a
were
Godfather's
two areas
pizza now.
where particularly bizarre events had occurred. Peter was also drawn to an upstairs bedroom.
I am also picking up a female entity who is loving and that is peaceful, that I believe that dwells here, not in this room necessarily, but throughout. And I get the name of Rebecca. And she is with a child, and I believe it is a boy
Weird.
child.
Yeah, but
and
this.
the child
Yeah, I don't.
answers
This
to
guy's
the name of
strange to
Thomas
me.
or Tommy.
Next, Peter attempted to contact the
Oh,
entity
look, the
directly
dual
and rid the
wielded
house of its
axes.
presence.
I am receiving a
See,
name
that's a simulation. That's the simulation trying to communicate with me.
from this forceful entity that begins with a D. And I believe this entity's name
He's just the. I think he's just the
Daniel.
con man.
Daniel, I am in control here. You are no longer welcome here. Your energy is beginning to weaken now. Be gone now.
After
I'm
Peter
speaking in a
James'
forceful
investigation,
voice.
The spirit activity in the house stopped. Sightings then conducted a search of area land deeds and real estate records and found a startling document. Peter James, who had never even been to Maryland, had correctly identified the name of the original
Jimmy
landowner,
Scott and Mary
a
Ellen.
former police chief in the area, whose first name was Daniel. Peter believes Daniel's spirit is the beast that terrorizes the family.
Oh.
He is continuing to stake
It's the
his
former
claim
police
to this
chief?
property.
Oh,
He believes
no.
that this house
How can they say?
is his,
Is this
and
legal?
this land is his.
Can you make a case that a deceased person is currently committing crimes? How crazy.
And they're invading his possession.
If you've had a paranormal...
Doesn't that seem weird to you guys? Like, the you can just say this guy is like, yeah, hey, this former police chief, yeah, his ghost is raping all these women. Like, I don't... that seems weird.
Experience like the Maryland family in this segment, or captured something unexplainable on film or
You could just do anything you wanted to, I guess, back in the day.
Call 1-900-740-SIGHT. Each call 75 cents a minute. Average call lasts 2 minutes, and you must be 18 years or older.
Join us next time for new investigations into the unexplained. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
All right. I got to go, but thanks for hanging out. I'm going to put a poll up on my community page about what you want to see tomorrow. I'll put a few options in there. I'm pretty open I'm having trouble narrowing it down. But anyway, I'll be back in the morning for some kind of something. Thursday, George Dorunda. Friday, Memphis. Saturday, Boyd Watch. But man, what a series of episodes. I think today was pretty good. I think how many did we watch? Like 5 or 6? Jeez. All right. Well, anyway,